Let's hope. Sup, ladies and gentlemen, Ackle here, and welcome back to each and one of you. Of course, if this is your first time watching the stream, I'm very happy to have you here. Please remember to hit that like button, and also hit the link in the description down below, because it is always better when it's live. You are watching a VOD after all, and that means, by definition, that this was once a live stream. So why would you not want to watch the live stream? Let's just quickly make sure that I'm actually uploading all of my VODs. There should be 2 VODs scheduled. Okay, one of the VODs have just gone live. That should be good. We have this one ready to go. So let's list this one for... Fuck, I can't actually remember. So 124, I don't have anything scheduled, so this has to go live tomorrow. Yeah. Okay, so we'll schedule this one for tomorrow, 2 p.m. Up we go. And then this one we'll do for the day after. Yeah, that should work. Alright. Well, I'm hoping that people eventually show up. I'm not sure. This is very early. Like, usually we don't start the stream this early, but, yeah, I don't have a choice because my power will be out soon. Meggy, how you doing, brother? Yeah, sadly, this is the price that has to be paid. I don't really have a fucking choice. Sadly, I don't have a choice. Why is this... Oh my god. Are you for fucking real? Why is this thing... Never mind. It's causing shit that should not be caused, because technically speaking, the music that is being played here should be stream safe. But it's not stream safe for some reason. I wonder why. I wonder... Have you guys watched the Ashes of Creation update already, or... Because I have not watched it. I also know that there's a producer live later today, but I can't fucking watch that, because, well... You know. Anna, how you doing? Did South Africa finally get the hamster back on the wheel? Well, no, because my power's going out in a few hours again. So it's not, it's definitely not as if it's getting better. It's definitely not getting better. Let's just put it that way. It's more, this is my few hours of having electricity, and then we go back to living in darkness. And tonight is actually going to be really long. Tonight's power is going to be out for 4 hours, 4.5 hours of no electricity. So that's rough, dude. It is fucking rough. I don't know what to do. I met with a solar company today. So we're waiting for some feedback there. When to find out if we can get solar and how much that's going to be in order to get the solar installed. Because right now, I just need solar to get my PC off the grid. If my PC goes off the grid, it means that I can do pretty much whatever the fuck I want. Go watch the live later, but the Ashes stuff was interesting. Downmo Gaming, how you doing, brother? Meggy, I'm going to watch the Ashes stuff today because we couldn't watch it last night because my power was going out. So I'm going to be watching that today. I'm just checking right now. My power literally just came back on. So I'm just checking to see if there's any news that I may have missed. Hopefully there wasn't. But then again, hopefully there was, because that would be nice. Although it doesn't seem like it. It seems like we covered everything that was available for coverage. Good man, watching a StarCraft tournament and you popped online? That's me, always in the most inopportune moments is when I pop in and, you know, come fill up your stream time for a bit. Hey all, just watching FF Live Letter right now. I wish I could watch the fucking Live Letter, Lilith. Is it good? There's gonna be spoilers. That's why I can't watch it, because there's gonna be spoilers, and I don't want to be spoiled. So I'm just sort of, fuck. Just sort of chilling and waiting. But hopefully we get to Shadowbringers within the next... Well, hopefully we get to the end of Endwalker within the next month. If my electricity gets anywhere near somewhat better, we should be at Endwalker by the end of the month. Does look good. Looking forward to 6.2. They just revealed Extreme. Easy. Nice. I was driving yesterday. Who was the girl you watched yesterday about Coomers? Oh, that's Lucy Pyre. Danmo. Lucy Pyre, she's like, she's an anime girl. Weeaboo girl. And yeah, she makes some really interesting content. Like, I really enjoy her videos. It's sort of dark comedy. Also, a bit of commentary on modern society kind of stuff. Meg, yeah, I can only apologize. Do you think Lucy is a 40-year-old dude? Big Melon Slapper, I don't. So, voice changers have come a really long way, but you can usually tell if someone is using a voice changer. There will be telltale signs if someone is using a voice changer. I'm not saying it's impossible, because obviously anything is possible, but that level of voice changing would, I think, be relatively difficult to achieve. Then again, it might be. Do you remember how long you got in FF14 MSQ, Akko? Haven't seen you play that in a while. Ariani, we're on 4.3. So we're done with Stormblood. We're about to get ready for Shadowbringers. Shazith, how you doing? Soon, hopefully, we'll be in Shadowbringers. I mean, as soon as I have electricity to actually string together a stream that is longer than 2 hours. Because that's what we have today. We have about 2 hours together, and then I go back to living in the dark, and you guys go on to live your lives in first world countries where you don't know what it is to live in the dark. Which is amazing. Not that far. Shadowbringer is going to be a fun time watching. I am looking forward to getting there. Believe me, I am looking forward to getting there. I just have a really bad feeling that the current issues that my country is facing with electricity is the beginning of something even worse. So, we've had load shedding for the last month. It started with stage 2 in the evenings. So, every evening we would get stage 2 load shedding. Niara, how you doing? Then they upgraded it to having stage 4 in the evenings, but only from 6 o'clock in the evening. So every evening at 6 o'clock, they'll implement stage 4, the rest of the time, nothing. And then they upgraded it, stage 2, from 2 o'clock in the afternoons until 6 o'clock in the evening, and then stage 4 from 6 until 12, and then nothing until 2 o'clock the next day. Then they started upgrading it stage 4 from 2 o'clock in the afternoon, and then stage 4 lasting until 12. Now we're on, then it was stage 2 the whole day, stage 4 from 2 o'clock in the afternoon, and stage 6 in the evenings. Now it's stage 4 the whole day, and stage 6 in the evenings. So it seems like it's just progressively getting worse and worse and worse. Which means South Africa might be days or maybe a week away from a complete system meltdown. Like I said, Akko, we're headed for the same situation, so thanks for talking about it publicly. It gives us an idea of what to expect. Big Minister, do you really think that that is going to happen? Don't worry, Akko, I have an 8,000-mile long extension cable you can plug into for power. I really appreciate that. I will take that fucking cable if you'll send it. Right now, I would take anything that gives me electricity. I'm going to be off for 4.5 hours tonight. What the fuck do you do with yourself for 4.5 hours? And before people go, mate, you should get a generator. I have a generator. I will not be able to burn that thing the amount of time that I'm going to need to burn it. That's the only reason I haven't turned it on. I can't afford to run a generator for 10 hours a day. There's no fucking chance. That thing's gonna cost me thousands of fucking rands just to get electricity. Especially with fucking fuel prices what they are right now. It would cost me, currently as things stand, that generator would probably cost me about $50 a day just to get electricity. Now, you might say, well, $50 a day isn't that much. Yeah, every single day, that's a fuck ton of money per month. That's like $1,500 just to pay my electricity. So I can't really do that. You know, right now it's just better to sit in the fucking dark and wait, hope that things get sorted. So yeah, it's a massive situation. I can imagine Aqua and a bicycle generator on stream. Have you ever heard of Enron, a seedy energy company in the US in the 90s that did stuff like price gouging people during wildfires on electricity by calling power companies asking them to shut down due to X reason for safety or whatever, and then price gouge like crazy, very corrupt. Holy shit. Something a lot of us Westerners take for granted. Yeah, I mean, I don't blame you for doing that. You shouldn't worry about the problems of South Africa. You don't live here. It's not your problems. It's just something that I'm currently dealing with. But like I said at the beginning of the stream, I have literally today, before the stream actually started, half an hour before the stream started, I finished on the phone. I was on the phone with a fucking salesman from Versify Solar, which is a company that basically you buy a solar system the same way that you would buy a car. Right, so you apply for a loan for your solar system, and the one good thing about this is their interest rates are priced the same as buying a house, so you get prime interest rates. The reason is they view a solar system as an asset. It's not like a liquid asset where it's actually like a car. If you buy a car, for example, your interest rates is usually prime plus 8 or something, whereas if you buy a house in South Africa, it's prime plus 1 or 2. Now, the solar systems are also prime plus 1 or 2. I spoke to them today. We're busy doing the application form, and then we'll hear, hopefully within the next few days, what's going to happen there. Hopefully, if I can just get my PC off the grid so that I don't have to worry about the electricity going on or off, my PC is running, and that's all that matters. I'll be happy, dude. I'll be fucking happy. I think in 10 years, we'll at the very least have load shedding in multiple US states that are doing poorly. It's happened before, sporadically. Would your internet work during load shedding? Right now, the internet does work during load shedding because remember, so there's a couple of good things about South Africa. Firstly, not everywhere is being load shed all at the same time. And because everyone is on fiber, most of your fiber exchanges don't require electricity. It just needs electricity on the one end, which is my end, and then electricity at the main exchanges, which are all solar run. Like all of these service providers in South Africa, their data centers are all powered by solar. So they don't care whether Eskom is load shedding or not, because the solar is keeping the main data centers running, and that's all that matters. The Big White, how you doing, brother? So right now, the internet does work. I don't know how that's going to look in like a total blackout. So during a total blackout, things might be very different, right? Gates, how you doing, brother? I do not understand the push for clean energy in a country like South Africa. I understand the push for clean energy in countries of the West. So I have no problem with Western countries saying, hey, we need clean energy. That's what we want. Let's move towards it. Yeah, sure. I want clean energy for everywhere. The issue is, if you're in South Africa, you're struggling to keep the lights on as is. My country is doing a massive push for renewable energy. They're not giving out... my country isn't giving out permits or anything like that for coal power plants or nuclear power plants. They're just doing permits and stuff right now for renewable energy, so wind farms and solar. The issue with those things are they're really not cost effective. So if you had an entire economy that ran on pure solar and wind, your electricity prices would be through the fucking roof. Through the roof, bro. Yeah, Germany is feeling that right now. Electricity in Germany is about 5 times, I believe, the price that it is in France, because France is 90% nuclear powered, whereas Germany is doing this insane thing where they're shutting down all their nuclear power plants and shifting to wind and solar. What one are you playing? Not playing anything, Adam. I only have 2 hours to stream. 1.5 hours now. I'm just going to react. Well, hopefully, we'll get to react to some Warhammer videos. Yeah, and with the population decline ahead, it makes lesser sense. Nuclear is the way to go. My country is 100% self-sustained with the waterfall power, but still, they push for wind turbines. Old Boulder, where are you from? Germany was buying gas from Russia and then decided to sanction Russia. Absolutely retarded. Big Man and Snapper, the funny thing is, Germany didn't. Germany isn't sanctioning Russia. This is what most people don't seem to understand. So the sanctions against Russia for oil and gas will only come into effect at the end of the year, December 31st. That's when those sanctions will come into effect. Right now, Germany and the whole of Europe is still buying a crap ton of Russian oil and gas. So really, Russia, like, Putin is smiling all the way to the fucking bank, bro. Because basically Europe is paying him at inflated prices for his oil and gas. So he uses that money to fuel his war. The way sounds tough whenever they say, yeah, fuck Russia, we're going to do sanctions. But until you sanction the oil and the gas, Russia's fine. Russia's making a lot of money. Russia just no longer gives a shit. I thought that was just because the Russians honor their contracts. No, big man. They're still buying. The sanctions only come into effect the 31st December. Everyone running their AC on the hottest day. It makes absolutely no sense. Power go right now. Exactly. The French's nuclear power is just going fucking all the way. But is there anyone in chat right now that doesn't like nuclear because you're worried for the waste? Like the nuclear waste. You're scared of nuclear waste. Go solar, green energy. The technology will improve quickly. I personally want a world that runs on nuclear. Just full-blown nuclear. I think nuclear is the most sustainable energy source that we have. It's the most reliable energy source we have. It's also one of the few energy sources that is completely modular. You can scale it up, you can scale it down very easily, depending on the amount of electricity that you need or the amount of electricity that you don't need. So nuclear, as far as I'm concerned, is the future. I'm not saying that you shouldn't have things like solar. I'm not saying that you shouldn't have things like wind. But those should be secondary systems. Those should be systems that you have in case, for example, you have to do maintenance on your nuclear power plants. You don't disrupt the system because, you know, there is wind and solar to pick up the slack. I think the perfect world, though, if I were to imagine my perfect world, it would be a world where every house, like every single household, is powered through solar. Because I think it makes sense on a household basis. You can have every single house powered by solar fairly easily, because that can be done. It's not impossible to have houses, like every house in the world, run on solar. You even now have residential wind projects that you can, like wind apparatus that you can install, which will also generate electricity. So I think that's fine on a residential like on a residential level. But I think commercially and industrially, I don't think solar and wind is ever going to be sufficient. The big white, no nuclear, please. I don't want IRL to be Fallout 76. Dude, the chances of Fallout 76 happening with nuclear power is almost zero. It's almost zero. That will never happen. It's just not. It's not something that nuclear power plants won't go boom. You don't have to worry about that. What we need to do is like Gundam and build a solar tower going up to outer space. Sci-fi. You're basically referring to something like a Dyson sphere, right? So we'll probably try that as well. We could try a Dyson sphere, although I watched a video the other day about Dyson spheres, and basically, as humans, we would need to strip. So do you guys know what a Dyson sphere is? The idea of a Dyson sphere is you build a structure around the sun. So you literally build a structure around the sun where the entire structure is one giant solar panel. And it basically absorbs all of the light from the sun and converts that into infinite energy effectively. In order to build a Dyson sphere around our sun, because everyone would live inside this Dyson sphere, just FYI. So it's built in these columns that run around the sun, and people live on this Dyson sphere. Now, a Dyson sphere around our sun would be able to house, I think they said something like 23 trillion humans would be able to live on a Dyson sphere like that and actually have fairly large homes. So it would be a massive, massive structure. To go from one side of the structure to the other side of the structure would take something like 8 months, right? So it would be like an 8-month trip to go from one side of the structure to the other. That's how big this thing would be. But in order to build it, in order to build this Dyson sphere, we would need to harvest to zero. So basically strip all of the planets in our galaxy, as well as maybe our 2 neighboring galaxies, to nothing. So we would have to strip them down to their bare bones fuck all to get enough resources in order to actually build our Dyson sphere. That's how many resources you would need in order to build a Dyson sphere. So it is basically, we're talking about the ability to start harvesting entire planets. That's what you would need. Oh, yeah, system. Sorry, our solar system as well as one more solar system. Not in my life, so the big white depends though, right? Do it. One make Earth great again. But just for people that is a little bit worried about nuclear, I wanted to show you guys this. I saw this video pop up on my feed the other day, and yesterday actually, and I really wanted to watch it. We solved nuclear waste decades ago. So let's see this.
Dear viewer, you've been conditioned. You've been tricked by years of television shows, movies, and video games into thinking that nuclear waste looks like this. Yellow barrels of bubbling, glowing green goo just ready to be toxic and transformative and spill into some nearby river and make giant insects and stuff. But like how commercials think that people actually sit in jackets and jeans in their own home, this depiction of nuclear waste couldn't be further from the truth. The reality of the situation is one of entirely plausible and safe management, nearly indestructible storage, and solutions that we've known about for literally decades. Today, let's see if we can't set the record straight, shall we?
Please.
Kevin, clean up all this goo. I don't know what it is. Wear some gloves.
Now entering the facility.
According to basically any poll you'd like to look at on the subject, most people view nuclear waste and its disposal as a fundamental obstacle for the expansion of nuclear power.
I hear this very often. I watched a video by a professor on this very topic a few years ago, which actually put my mind at ease, because it was actually one of my biggest fears with nuclear, was exactly that. My fear years ago was exactly that. What about all the waste? What about the downsides? What about all the bullshit? So I was just as scared as everyone else. And then I watched a video about a nuclear physicist that actually explained that, well, if you put all of the world's nuclear waste together, it basically fills up an entire room of, I think, 12 by 12 or some shit like that. That's how much nuclear waste we have already as a world. That nuclear waste is entirely safe. Like nothing can happen to it. It can't do anything.
Power. Many of you may imagine a disaster like Chernobyl, which is now unfortunately ongoing, when I mention nuclear waste. But this is the image in your head that I want to challenge on today's program. It is my contention that nuclear waste is nowhere near the problem you think it is. And this misconception is leading to both improper management of nuclear waste and it's inhibiting the expansion of nuclear power, which of course you know I'm for. So so you don't think I'm in the pocket of big uranium here, today I will start from the ground up, point A to point B, give you all the facts, and eventually lead you through my reasoning.
Is there even such a thing as big uranium? We have nuclear power plants here in the States, have not had a meltdown. The security in them is insane. The policies and procedures are extremely in-depth. I had a pipe fitter friend that worked in one, and he went over how they work and what it takes to work in one. It's insane. Oh yeah, they take great precautions with that shit.
If at the end of today's episode you don't agree with me, that's fine. At least I think you have all the facts, which I ran by industry professionals before filming this video. So we begin.
Okay.
What is nuclear waste? Nuclear waste, or radioactive waste more generally, is any waste that emits alpha, beta, or gamma radiation. It can be anything from spent nuclear fuel rods down to the gloves that nuclear engineers wear. And it comes from nuclear medicine, nuclear power production, and the reprocessing of nuclear weapons, as well as rare earth mining. To date, almost 500,000 tons of nuclear waste has been generated, though a third of that has been recycled. Instead of going...
The nice thing about Fukushima is that no one died, the big white, from the nuclear thing. So yes, Fukushima was really bad in terms of, the nuclear power plant got hurt. But in terms of deaths, I don't think there were any deaths due to the nuclear power plant having its meltdown. Exactly because of these safety procedures that is inside these nuclear power plants. It's actually incredibly difficult to have a nuclear power plant going to complete meltdown. They have so many safety procedures that kick in to stop things like that. Homer Simpson going out with uranium barrel, don't exist, security is amazing. Pretty much, yeah. Just go back a little bit here.
Rare earth mining. To date, almost 500,000 tons of nuclear waste has been generated, though a third of that has been recycled. Instead of going to a dump or some large single area, because of public skepticism, nuclear waste is almost always either stored where it is generated on site, in pools of water, or in so-called dry casks above the ground, which we'll get to. Yeah, I called you Big Uranium because it sounded cool. Make the check out to Kyle Hill, H-I-L. Sorry, I was just subscribing to some magazines. Now, with thousands of tons of nuclear waste accumulating at sites all around the world, you may expect me now to start listing off all of the known environmental and health effects from nuclear waste.
Please
and
do.
That's what makes the public so skeptical, right? Well, I can't. Properly managed nuclear waste has no currently known widespread environmental or public health effects. This isn't barrels and barrels of glowing green goo just waiting to poison your river. No, this is reconstituted nuclear material in ceramic and glass and encased in many kilograms of concrete.
Look at that shit. Like, look at how we store our nuclear. How's that not safe? Like, how could you think that would not be safe?
Concrete and steel forever.
Sounds like the world is more affected by the waste generated on TikTok.
That's right, Arya. Does anyone know how to not dance like they're at a theater kid's boring wedding? Sheesh! What the world seems to have forgotten about, or is just straight up ignoring, is that the non-nuclear waste we are producing right now, every second, is so much worse. It's literally killing us right now. Most of the world uses fossil fuels, right?
Yep.
Well, let's do the same comparisons that we just...
You want to know something really fucking horrible, right? There are only thing keeping us from World War III. I can see that. You want to know the weirdest thing? We knew about solar energy, like how to generate solar energy, before we even discovered oil. So before we figured out how to turn oil into actual energy, we already knew about solar. And then oil was discovered, and the people that had oil also had money and basically did their lobbying magic and got solar pushed out. Can you imagine if 100 years ago, we already started investing heavily in solar? How much further along would we have been in terms of solar technology if that was the way to go, if that was the way the world went? So we never went into oil or coal. We just straight up went into solar. It's safe, but not anywhere. But not anywhere. That's my problem. Not anywhere the security is, as in America. The big white. The nice thing about most nuclear power plants. So South Africa has a nuclear power plant, and my government is one of the most horrendous ones out there. But even our nuclear power plant is up to world standards. So the world sends out just I think 2 years ago. We had scientists, an engineering science team from France that visited Kubar, which is our nuclear power plant, for almost 3 months, where they did studies and tests to see exactly how the power plant is doing. Is the power plant safe? And they signed off and said, yeah, this is 100% fine. Everything's being maintained. It's all good. I feel like 90% of the countries in the world takes nuclear power plants seriously. So even some of your worst governments out there, maybe apart from North Korea, like North Korea seems like the one place that would probably go, well, as long as the nuclear power plant isn't near Pyongyang, we're good, right? If there's a meltdown and it kills like 5 million people, that's just 5 million less people we need to feed. But maybe every other government in the world would take it at least semi-seriously in how they build their nuclear power plants. Just a few months ago, bombed a nuclear power plant, but yet nothing happened, the big white. Because those power plants are incredibly, incredibly difficult to explode. Even with things like they're literally built. This guy has another video. It's a couple of years old at this point, but you guys can go watch it. He has another video where he speaks about why nuclear is the future. Those power plants are built to withstand bombings. They're built. The safety mechanisms within them are built to withstand shit like this.
Did on this program. How much fossil fuel waste is produced? Well, every year in the US alone, coal plants put more ash into the sky by weight than 300 times all of the nuclear waste ever produced in every single way ever. That happens every year. Do the math, and an average coal plant in the US will put more ash into the air and the atmosphere every hour than a single nuclear plant will.
Dude, that is quite fucking scary. Like, I don't give a fuck about an argument for or against global warming. I don't care about that argument. I don't want to get involved in an argument about is global warming real, isn't it real? I don't care. For me, a far more practical argument and a far more successful argument is just simple. Do you prefer clean or dirty air? It's as simple as that. Like, we don't have to worry about is the Earth getting warmer by 1.5 degrees? Are the oceans getting warmer by 1 degree or 1.5 degrees or any bullshit like that? We don't have to worry about that. It's a simple question. Do we think that the ocean is better when it's not being polluted by all sorts of crazy shit? And do we think it's better when air is kind of clean and when you breathe, you're actually breathing in oxygen and not like oxygen plus a bunch of fucking coal particles or like a bunch of carbon shit and crap? And I think I want to say 100% of people, but I realize there are some stupid people out there. So let's say 95% of human beings on the planet are going to tell you, yes, clean would be better. And if you agree with me that clean is better, then we cannot keep going with coal. It is as simple as fucking that. If we all agree that clean is better, then coal is not the way to keep going. I'm not saying go immediately off coal. That would be stupid and that would crash the world economy. I'm saying let's move to something that isn't fucking up our atmosphere, that isn't fucking up our air. Simple as that.
In its entire lifetime. Where does all this fossil fuel waste go? Well, look around. The trees, the topsoil, the atmosphere, your lungs. How does it affect people?
There is also probably the case to make, and this is getting into a lot more, but CO2 is used by trees, and so it's not, we don't want to, like, just, CO2 isn't a bad thing. It's just a bad thing when we produce far more than what nature needs. But CO2 just on the face of it isn't a bad thing, which is also a thing that a lot of people are sort of ignorant about. Like, a lot of people are just like, oh my god, we should have zero CO2, and it's like, dude, you can never get zero CO2. What the fuck are you talking about? Zero CO2 is a pipe dream, unless of course we're gonna kill all species and everything on the planet. Then we could reach zero CO2, but then everything will die because well, trees kind of need the CO2.
1 in 5 deaths can be attributed to the burning of inefficient fuels like gasoline and coal. And finally, have there been any large-scale health and environmental effects from proper management of fossil fuels?
Gates, I'm going to be honest with you, even large fossil fuel companies want clean. So one of the world's biggest investors in clean energy is, I believe it's either Total or Sasol, which are oil companies. They produce fuel. And they're investing like nuts into clean energy. So even the fossil fuel industry have realized that fossil fuels is not the future. Like, we can't keep going with fossil fuels. Even they know this. Of course, the problem with them is that they want to... It's always going to be tomorrow, because today they can still make money out of the fossil fuels, right? So every single time they... like, they're always just going to be like, yeah, we'll switch to clean tomorrow. Today, buy my oil. Shadow Scully, thanks so much for doing something. I really appreciate that. 6 months in a row. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Fuel waste? Well, yeah.
Jesus, dude.
This hurts to look at because it's hurting the world, and yet we still maintain this tremendous blind spot for things like this. You remember this happening, right? It's true that radioactivity can be dangerous in a different kind of way, but even here, if you look into the numbers, just by nature of how coal is processed, it contains some amount of radioactive material. It comes from the ground just like everything else, and the average coal plant, through its ash, will put more radiation into the atmosphere than 100 times what a nuclear plant of the same size would. Look, I'm no expert here. I'm no scientist, but I think about radiation a lot. I do my research. I've been to Chernobyl myself. And I can tell you that I'd rather spend a week in Chernobyl, maybe not right now, than say a week in Beijing, when the air quality is literally so bad, it's worse than what the first responders at Ground Zero on 9/11 were breathing. Remember, this isn't worst case versus...
Dude, like, that is the fucking bonkers thing for me. So, the BRICS countries, you guys know what the BRICS are, right? It's my country is part of BRICS. It's Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa, the BRICS nations. They just had their summit, and China, Xi Jinping, got up on stage to do the address because China is the host this year for the BRICS nations thing. And China got on stage and they were talking about clean energy and how the world, how we're destroying the planet. And as I was sort of reading like the bullshit that guy was saying, I just thought to myself, dude, your country is like one of the worst polluters in the world. Your cities are literally covered in fucking smog because of all the coal and shit that you burn. And you are telling the rest of the world that they need to switch to clean energy. Like, what the fuck? How about you guys switch to clean energy, and then you can probably worry about what the rest of the world is doing. Adelia, thank you so much for 18 months in a row. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I will use your money well. I really appreciate that. So considering the fact they deal with that shit air quality daily, not just a few days, consistently on daily, Jesus Christ. Oh, yeah. It is bad in China.
Worst case. This is not Chernobyl versus Exxon. This is complicated reality versus complicated reality. And right now, the reality is that fossil fuel is
Isaac, how you
the
doing, brother?
invisible scourge that people imagine nuclear waste to be.
But, Administrator, if nuclear waste isn't as bad as fossil fuel pollution, and the problem is already solved, what is the solution?
Ah, yes, the whole point of this episode. And Arya, get Big Uranium back on the phone. I could use a new Lamborghini. Magazine subscription. Damn! Nothing I've said so far actually demonstrates that nuclear waste isn't dangerous, just that it's less harmful than other forms of waste. So let's talk about how nuclear waste is actually managed.
Okay.
Out of a nuclear power plant like the one behind me, there are 3 kinds of waste that can be produced. Low-level waste, which can be anything from papers to gloves that are lightly irradiated. Intermediate level waste that does require some shielding but decays well enough over time, and high-level waste. This is the stuff
Those are
that
the
people
things
worry
that we have
about,
to
the
worry
stuff
about, yeah.
that needs to be cooled down in cooling ponds for a couple of years before being stored away. Now, even though this is the stuff people really worry about, it's only a tiny, tiny fraction of all the nuclear waste produced. In fact, all of the high-level
3%,
waste
dude?
ever
Like, what the
created by
fuck?
every nuclear power plant in the world could be buried in just a football field-sized space. Yeah, nuclear power is just that efficient. Now, as we said, high-level waste is stored mostly above ground in so-called dry
Alright.
casks, giant concrete cylinders that can weigh as much as the world's heaviest door. And inside of them is not green goo like you imagine. No, it's glass and ceramic. Nuclear material melted down, combined with glass and ceramic and inert material such that the nuclear stuff stays cool and stays below critical. Despite a blue
Easy.
whale's worth of concrete, despite the known physics of shielding, the public still isn't comfortable with these casks. The San Onofre nuclear generating station
But-
found this out.
What's interesting to me is that why? If we know the science to be solid and we understand the science, why is it that people aren't okay with this? If we know that this is 100% safe, nothing bad can happen, why is it that people still go, but no? Makes me think about Fallout 4 and how everything was powered by nuclear fusion energy, from ovens to cars to trains, etc., etc. It has to be propaganda, but why? Why would there be such a push against nuclear power if the whole world wants green energy?
When they started transferring high-level waste to above-ground casks near a beach, and the people there are still protesting that, imagining that this will be a problem for millennia. However, what they may not realize is that the vast
Lobbyists,
majority,
dollars,
over 95% of
environmentalists,
all
sure.
nuclear waste, has a short enough half-life that it can decay on-site to the point of harmlessness in the lifetime of a power plant. Some longer-lived materials will have to be stored away forever, of course, but most of it will decay in the lifetime of a plant to inert rock and glass. At that point, standing next to one of these gargantuan nuclear coffins will literally be less harmful than taking a cross-country flight. Contrast this with fossil fuels again. Coal plants, for example, are the single largest source of mercury pollution on Earth. And neurotoxic metals like this will never, ever.
So the one thing I don't like about this video is how he keeps comparing nuclear waste to fossil fuels. And I feel like the vast majority of people that is against nuclear
I think
waste,
it's because some people do not trust the maker of nuclear plants. For example, some buildings can collapse, some phones can explode. I think that is why people still choose to farm and use Earth right.
Zig, I'll talk about that in a second. I think most people that would be against nuclear are also against coal, right? I don't think it's like, people, I don't think there's many people that is for coal, like I said at the beginning of the video. I think most people are against coal. We just don't really agree on what the future could be. So I don't like the fact that he keeps referring back to like coal power plants and like repairing it or comparing it to coal power plants because, yeah, we know coal is fucking horrible. Like, you don't have to keep convincing us of it. Just show us why nuclear isn't the issue. That's really all that matters. 6-6, by the way, thanks for the 45 bits. Did really appreciate that. To be fair, though, I feel like the stakes for nuclear power plants are so high that... Because buildings collapse because of shortcuts. Phones explode because of shortcuts. I don't think there's many people that will take shortcuts when it comes to building a nuclear power plant. One of the reasons my country isn't attempting to build nuclear power plants in order to fix the power issue is exactly that. To build a nuclear power plant will take over a decade, and my country doesn't have a decade. It doesn't have that long to actually get it built. So, because you can't take shortcuts with a nuclear power plant. That thing has to be built to spec every single step of the way. Diaburst, I get that. I just feel like it's already like well established. We know that coal is fucking terrible. We have tool to compare its death by energy units produced, and coal is horrible. Oh yeah, coal is fucking terrible.
Lose their toxicity ever. They will always be a problem, and today they're not even contained.
Administrator, your request for the new Lamborghini Aventador has been denied by Big Uranium.
Oh, come on, how many sensible facts do I have to shill for a sick Lamby? When properly stored and managed, nuclear waste is just so much easier to deal with than anything that comes out of fossil fuel use and production.
But what about in between nuclear waste production and storage? Couldn't some accident happen when moving nuclear waste around?
That's a good question, Arya. I want to show you something. These are nuclear waste transport casks. These are what we use to put nuclear waste in and move it from site A to site B or what have you. Now, for all intents and purposes, these are indestructible. Like Hulk level, Infinity Gauntlet level indestructible. Watch this for a second. Yeah. You can throw a runaway train at one of these things and
hitting it.
Nothing happens. In the millions and millions of miles these things have traveled across the globe for decades, there have been 0 recorded accidents where one cracks open and stuff leaks out. There's nothing to leak. Remember, this is not green glowing goo. This is concrete and steel and glass and ceramic. And because of that, and because these things are so indestructible, it's very unlikely any of this is ever going to get weaponized like people are worried about. That's just...
Yeah, but weaponization can also be solved just by moving to fucking thorium, right? The problem right now with nuclear waste or nuclear being weaponized is that we're using cobalt. But if you use thorium, I'm not exactly sure why, but I do know it's almost impossible to weaponize thorium nuclear. It's because you need to put something into the thorium in order for it to become radioactive. So you can't. It's not radioactive by itself. It's nothing compared to my grandma throwing a chancla at me. What the hell's a chancla, Niara? I was at a nuclear power station once. The noise in the turbine hall was unbelievable. What do you mean with unbelievable, CDJ? Why do voters in California keep voting down desalination plants when they have been in a drought for decades? People are stupid about their own backyard. True.
Not how these materials are going to work. What people should be worried about, something like a rogue piece of medical equipment somewhere, as unfortunately the entire city of Goiânia, Brazil, found out a few decades ago. When properly stored and managed, nuclear waste might in fact be the safest waste there is.
Really,
and all
Arius?
of this is
Holy
even without
shit.
the ultimate solution for all of this stuff that nuclear scientists and engineers have known about for decades. So with that, it's time to go underground. Oh, my thighs. The international scientific consensus is that the best option for long-term storage of high-level nuclear waste is deep geological disposal. It sounds simple, and that's because it is. You dig a big hole that goes really far underground, you put the already safe dry casks in there. You dig the hole so deep that it's below anything that's a water table, geologically active, or a biosphere. It's as isolated as you can get from humanity without literally throwing these things into space, which you can't do. And we know that this deep disposal would work.
Why couldn't you throw it into space? Just aim it at the sun and fucking go, bro. Like, that would take care of almost all of our issues. Just aim it at the sun and fucking pop it off. It'll go forever because there's nothing that's going to stop it. At some point, the sun's gravity is going to latch onto it and just pull it in anyways. And once it hits the sun, it's going fucking bye-bye, right? The sun is just going to incinerate whatever the fuck is inside of it. You could probably do that, I think. Yeah, the sun is literally the most giga-chad in the universe. Jungle is a flip-flop shoe? Ah, okay.
Because billions of...
Fuck cost, Omi. We're not being rational and reasonable here. We're just talking about things that could really work. It's an efficient way to dispose radioactive material. Just drop it on someone's head that you don't like. Easy, or is. How much would it cost to launch it? Well, I think it depends, right? Right now, probably a lot, but we could fucking do it eventually, right?
Years ago, nature already tried it. About 2 billion years ago, in what is now Gabon, Africa, a rich natural uranium deposit, moderated by intruding groundwater, kicked off a series of modestly powerful nuclear reactions. A natural nuclear reactor right in the ground.
Wait, what?
These reactions generated energy and heat for hundreds of thousands of years. And I'm telling you this little geological factoid because in all of that time, with all of the movement of the underlying geology, with all of the erosion, with zero protection, zero storage, the waste from this natural reactor, which was in contact with groundwater, moved less than 30 feet away from the site. Even without decades of study backing it up, even without a metric buttload of specialized concrete shielding, this natural experiment worked, and it's good evidence that deep disposal is relatively safe.
If this is such a good solution, why aren't we doing it?
Well, why don't we ask the experts?
I thought you were an expert.
Oh, no, I'm just an expert at this. To make sure I got the facts in this program right, I spoke with the scientists and engineers over at Deep Isolation, the world's first private company to make advancements in a very promising twist on deep geological disposal. Now, instead of wanting to use giant mines underground that are 18 feet wide and need people and heavy machinery and you have to move casks around with humans, instead of that, they want to use borehole technology that the oil and gas industry already has. Instead of those giant mines, you just drill 18-inch diameter holes, 1,000 feet or more into the ground. You drill it at an angle or horizontal or vertical, but you drill it all the way below aquifers, below anything that's geologically active, below more rock than is in a generic disaster film. Into these holes, you put nuclear casks, you stack them or you line them up, you fill the entire thing with concrete, you seal it, you forget about it. The great thing about this idea is that you can do this all on site at a nuclear power plant. Deep Isolation estimates that it would take just 20 of these size holes, you can find the space somewhere for that, to contain an entire nuclear power plant's lifetime's worth of nuclear waste, which means no single large repository somewhere, no single national site where taxpayers would have to pay for it and accept it. Not accepting it is exactly why a project like the Yucca Mountain repository died. According to Deep Isolation, geologic disposal is robust enough to survive earthquakes, ruptured canisters, and broken seals. This is simply a benefit of just being so deep underground. Funding exists right now to try something like this, and Deep Isolation has done its own polling to suggest that most of you would be much more comfortable knowing that a million-year solution like this was up and running. Look, I'm partially making this video because yes, I am pro-nuclear power, but I'm mainly making it because this is a perceived, imagined problem that has an easy solution that's staring us right in the face. We have the funding. We have proven technologies. We have scientific consensus. The thing that's holding us back from storing all of the nuclear waste in the world right now is you. Public acceptance. Whether or not we store...
It's you fucking assholes that's holding the world back. Why are you guys so intent on holding us back? Like, we could already be living in the future if it wasn't for you close-minded fucks that keep going, nope, we don't want that. Screw you assholes. Like, all of you. I know you are. You guys who basically want to go back to the fucking Stone Age because it was better than what we have now. It's all because of you. Here we go, one of the largest. But why, Old Baller? Why was that happening? Neutron emitter for thorium reactors and like a pallet of plutonium-239 as the source. We are self-sustained with waterfall energy, oil production, and I think nuclear bad.
Or waste in a more safe and manageable way. Whether or not we do that and then expand nuclear power and then use nuclear power to help fight climate change, that is all up to you. I believe I've given you an accurate portrayal of this landscape. Whether or not it changes your mind, I did all I could as your resident science boy. Until next time, I gotta go fuel up my Lamborghini Honda Civic. You heard that.
Now exiting the facility.
Yeah, I know it's a $250,000 car. Do you know how hoarse my voice is from fact spewing? Oh. Thank you so much to the very nerdy staff at the facility for their direct and substantial support in the creation of this here video. Today, I want to recognize everyone who likes the video. It's an experiment, and subscribes to the channel. If you want to continue on this conversation, if you want to drape on a silky white lab coat, which we're actually making, if you want to join the Discord, see videos early, go to patreon.com/Kyle Hill and join the facility today. And as you can see, there's so many of you.
Jeez, he does have a fuck ton of patrons.
Sounding in my sultry, sick voice. But I bet a lot of you are wondering about space disposal.
Yeah.
It's just a matter of fact that it's way too dangerous and it's gonna cost too much money. Launching a rocket is hard. It might blow up. If it blows up with nuclear material in it, that's even worse. You don't want to do that. Thanks again.
Dude, I don't believe you. I think we could do that. Launch it into space. Just get someone to kick it really hard, bro. Like, easy. Just get, like, those strongmen. Make that one of the competitions. See how far you can kick the fucking nuclear waste disposal shit. But the population is in decline and will be half in 2000. 2100, we have other issues to think about as production chains, etc. He got a super spicy take on Saudi Arabia incident. Ooh. Wait. Too bored? Is there more drama around Asmongold? Let's see it. Check livestream fail subreddit. Alright, don't mind if I do. Oh my god. You know it's bad when we have to go to livestream fails, brother. Like, you know it's bad when livestream fails is where we need to be. Alright. Let's see. Saudi Arabia sponsorship and related topics. Streamer and YouTuber Technoblade passed away after a lengthy battle with cancer. Nuts take on Greek's rant and Texas streamer drama. Wait, where is it? This one, the Saudi Arabia one. Pokey leaks Saudi Arabian sponsor offer. Miskif and Emiru already accepted. Wait, what? Dude, why would you accept a sponsorship from Saudi Arabia?
For 4 days. Like, fly somewhere. Saudi Arabia. For 4 days. And play Fortnite. I'm not, this is a real deal. An offer, real offer. And
that's not leaked. He just fucking said it.
It says Miskif and Emiru are going. Of course they're going. Of course they're fucking going. Are you kidding me? Yeah, of course. That doesn't make it better for me to go.
Wait, well,
I don't know how much I can say. To go somewhere for 4 days.
So he doesn't want to go. Okay. But that's not leaking it. You just said it. Miskif rethinking. Alright, let's see this. Miskif rethinking he's Saudi Arabia sponsor. This clip is no longer available. Of course it isn't. Club Mirror.
Artificially man-made famine happening in Yemen as a consequence of the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia's
Wait,
actions.
wait. What does that mean? What does a man-made? Is it like the cold? Like what the hell does that mean?
Like they are literally fucking bombing Yemen so relentlessly that kids in Yemen do not have access to food.
Yeah, but what you said they.
Dude, you're listening. Like, I just want to say, I'm not okay with taking a sponsorship from Saudi Arabia, but Miskiv listening to, like, no one should ever take advice from a son about fucking anything politically motivated. Dude's a moron.
They made their own.
They're also stopping humanitarian help from going into Yemen.
Okay. So Saudi Arabia is not a good place. Let's just cut to the chase.
No, and that is before you talk about like domestic laws in Saudi Arabia that still punish homosexuality.
So this charity that's
Saudi
offering me
Arabia
money.
Yeah, gonna be honest, if Hassan is the one making sense about something, you know you fucked up. Like, you know you've gone too far when it's Hassan that basically has to tell you, bro, yeah, this is not how it's supposed to be.
Saudi Arabia is what America wishes it was.
Shut the fuck up. Does America wish it was Saudi Arabia? Shut the fuck up, you asshole. Oh my god. That is bullshit. All right, let's see. There's another one from Miskiv. Is it the same one?
I don't know what to say. Dude, like, what is going on? I thought it was a sponsorship. I guess I'm not going.
You shouldn't have gone anyways. Like, why would you go to Saudi Arabia for the love of all things that's fucking holy? All right, so this is again, Miskiv. It's a sponsorship, Pepega. Dude, but there are limits to the amount of sponsorships. So, for example, I refuse to take sponsorships from any mobile companies. I don't take sponsorships from mobile companies because I don't trust them.
The Kingdom of Saudi Arabia is like a nonprofit account linked to the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. Said, he who interferes with what doesn't concern him finds what doesn't please him, sticking one's nose where it doesn't belong. And this is an Air Canada plane heading towards the CN Tower. Yep.
Dude, when Hassan is the one making sense.
They were like, we did 9/11 and we'll do it to you too, motherfucker. You better shut your goddamn mouth, Canada.
No disco option. Dude, people are so fucking moronic about Roe v. Wade. It's surreal. It is just, it's absolutely surreal. People should talk to some lawyers about Roe v. Wade. Anyway, I'm not getting into that. That is a nuclear fucking topic that I don't want to talk about. So what the fuck, dude? All of the, like, people have just been deleting all of their clips.
They bought into esports, the Saudi Arabian government, and they're doing esports washing, bro. And they're doing esports washing, all sports watching. They bought into esports.
Look, I'm going to make it easy for you. Why would you even think that taking a sponsorship from a country like fucking Saudi Arabia is a good idea? And also, under what rock must you live in order to think that, in order to not know what Saudi Arabia is doing? A genuine fucking question. How fucking stupid must you be in order to think, well, actually, fuck Saudi Arabia, I don't care? Like, that country has been at the forefront of so many human rights abuses. Like, so many human rights abuses. It's not hard to find out that Saudi Arabia is not a great fucking place to be in. And yet, what, Miskiv just didn't know about this? Like, he just didn't know? How did he not know? Like, how can you not know, dude? Oh my god. All right, Asmongold or Miskov. Let's hear what Asmon had to say here. Is this clip deleted too? Fuck.
It's like if you want to talk about going to a different country or taking money from like doing events in different countries, it's like what is the limit to that? Because how many people have taken sponsorships from like games that are, you know, made in China or something like this? It's like, by what extent of like a disconnect are you supporting China by playing Diablo Immortal? Because
I don't disagree with Asmongold at all here. I judge content creators that take mobile game sponsorships just as harshly as I would do Miskov. What bothered me about Miskov is the fact that the dude didn't even know that Saudi Arabia was a pretty fucking horrible place. In fact, Saudi Arabia is worse than China. Dude, and China is a pretty fucked up place. You know? Like, I don't want to live in China, but I would fucking, you bet your ass, I would walk into Beijing flying the fucking CCP flag before I live in Saudi Arabia. Like, that place is fucking nuts, bro. That place is next level nuts. So I don't mind. Like, I think both are bad, but the fact that you don't even know that, the fact that you don't even know how horrible Saudi Arabia is, that is staggering to me. But I don't judge Miskov for wanting to take the sponsorship any more harshly than what I do any of these fucking streamers and YouTubers that accept sponsorships from companies that are fucking terrible. So, for example, I don't know if you guys know, remember a couple of years ago, there was this company called BetterHelp. BetterHelp would do these, they advertise basically on every single fucking YouTuber's channel at that point. Basically online therapy, right? So you would meet a therapist online and you'd be able to talk to the therapist. Anyone that knows anything about anything, and I mean literally you only need to know a little bit about something, knows that online therapy will almost guaranteed not fucking work. The whole point of therapy is you have a therapist that you trust, you build rapport, the therapist goes deeper and deeper every single week. 1 or 2 classes, like just 1 or 2 sessions, is not going to do anything for you. Specifically, like after things emerge that you don't even get a therapist, most of the people there aren't even fucking qualified. I judge all of those content creators just as harshly as I do someone like Miskov, because you're taking, first and foremost, I don't take sponsorships from any company that I do not know. I also refuse to accept sponsorships from any company that I do not use. So, for example, when Manscaped wanted to sponsor me, I made it very clear, send me Manscaped products, let me use them, and if I like them, I'll run the ads. And I like them. It just didn't work out. We didn't reach a settlement, and they went their way. I went mine. I have a couple of Manscaped razors, and I fucking love them. But I refuse to work with anyone if I don't know who they are. Because in my opinion, that is the responsibility that I have. Before I start peddling a good, I have to know what the fuck I'm getting into. So it would not be hard. Saudi Arabia wants to sponsor you. It's a very quick Google fucking search. Saudi Arabia. That's all you type in. Saudi Arabia. And you'll get the news, right? The news reports will pop up and be like, oh shit, more gay people thrown off rooftops. Woman beaten because she stood up against her wife, against her husband. Fucking stood up against her wife, she'd be dead. So it's sort of like, it wouldn't be, you wouldn't even need to do a deep dive, like fact-finding mission. You just need to Google Saudi Arabia to see, fuck, things are not great. Get me out of this clown world. My favorite streamer accepting sponsors from Saudi and supporting pay-to-win games. But they know how to keep their women in place, though.
because it was made partially by netties. You see what I'm saying? So, like, in my mind, there's a very big difference between, like, somebody going to China or going to Saudi Arabia and then somebody promoting their ideology. Tarkov is Russian? Yeah, like, yeah. Is Tarkov actually Russian? Is that true? It is? Whoever.
I think I should also say there is one small difference that Asmongold is probably not keeping in mind here. The the sponsorship that Miskov and these people are going for is literally run by the Saudi Arabian government. It is the Saudi, well, I guess, royal family that's running this. The Prince of Saudi actually owns the company or owns the majority share in this charity or whatever the fuck it's called. So it is sort of going. It would be the same thing if China's government, for example, made a video game and you are now playing that video game. In the case of something like NetEase, it is a company that just happens to also be a Chinese company. Now, Tarkov, for example, if Tarkov is a Russian company, I'm not sure who makes Tarkov, to be honest. I don't play the game. But if it is a Russian company, we have to ask ourselves the question, so what, all Russian people should go fuck themselves because Putin did a couple of things that we don't agree with? It's not the Russian people's fault. Are we going to start punishing Russian people for the shit that Russia's government is doing? That makes no sense. That's stupid. Why? It's not like, the people of Russia decided fuck that and invaded Ukraine. It's Putin that decided to do that. And maybe the people support him. I don't really care. You would have to figure that out on a case-by-case basis. Do the people who make Tarkov actually agree with Putin's decision to invade Ukraine? That you would have to find out for yourself. But I feel like there is a difference between going to a sponsored event by the government of a very bad country and going to a sponsored event by a company that just happens to be in that fucked up country. There is a difference, in my opinion at least. So Ludwig also got approached here. Of course the video isn't available. What the fuck, bro? God. And there's no mirror up for this one. Dude, these fucking streamers just hiding their bad shit. Like, oh shit, made a mistake. I have to hide this immediately. I have to hide this immediately. Oh my God, these fucking assholes, bro.
The way that I make all my decisions is a very simple question. Is this beneficial to me? And if it's beneficial to me, then I do it. That's it.
Old Boulder, so the issue that you do have with, NetEase has a very close relationship with the government in China. It basically, they don't have a choice. One of the growing concerns of the Chinese government, by the way, is the fact that most of their rich citizens are starting to dislike the government. They still have to have a close relationship with the government because otherwise you can't do business in China. Because in order to do business in China, you actually do need to have a close relationship with the government. But that doesn't mean that that company likes the government. It just means that in order to do business, they're doing what they have to do, which is be friends with the fucking government. So there is always going to be some level of, at least it's not the government, which is kind of the only thing I can say there. It's still not right. I just want to make clear, I'm not excusing any of this, but I don't think it's on the same level. Let's put it that way. So they're canceling the letter. Some people have serious problems. Probably a dozen of people on Twitter, probably.
Everything else below that is like, I would say it's subtext, but to be honest, it's not even on the page. That's it. Now, I would do probably the Saudi Arabia thing, but there's no fucking way I'm going to travel. That's it. Maybe that's a true and accurate history. It's probably not over history, but today it's probably not. I don't know. I think that America contributes a lot of negativity around the world and negative effects around the world. Would you take a sponsorship from Russia?
I feel like my biggest issue with America, and it's not just America, my biggest issue with the West, and to be fair, I do love the West. I have a great respect for Western people. I myself was brought up in Western tradition, but my one issue that I have with the West, which I have to say I don't have as much with like Eastern countries, even China, the West seems to believe that they have a right to police the rest of the world and force the rest of the world to live the way that they think you should live. Which I don't necessarily agree with. I feel like you as a country have the right to decide how you as a country want to live. But I don't think you as a country have the right to tell other countries how they can and can't live. because every country has to be able to make that decision for themselves. Again, I'm going to take you guys back to the most recent meeting of the BRICS nations. So for those of you that don't know, BRICS are starting to get bigger. Just very recently, we had 2 new countries that actually applied for BRICS membership. One of them is Iran. The other one is a South American country, I believe. Then you have a number of South American countries that have expressed interest in joining the BRICS alliance. You have a bunch of Middle Eastern countries that have expressed interest in joining the BRICS alliance. And then you also have a bunch of African countries that have expressed interest in joining the BRICS alliance. The BRICS is also coming up with their own reserve currency because they basically, Putin actually said this at the BRICS convention. He opened, with his speech, he opened with the following. America using the US dollar as the reserve currency seems to make America think that it has the right to tell other countries how they can and can't live. So America is literally using its dollar as a beating stick. If you don't live the way that I want you to live, then you don't get to spend my dollars. And that's why they want this BRICS reserve currency. And basically, Putin and China's Xi Jinping all said the same thing. Countries should be able to do whatever the fuck they want within their country. It shouldn't matter what a country wants to do in their own country. It's not up to you to police them. Like, no one asked America to be the police officer of the world. Now, it gets a little bit dodgy whenever you start to talk about, but what about countries that actually abuse their people and slaughter their own people? Do you still trade with them? Do you still give them the right to trade? Is that something that should happen? I think that's where most of us would go, well, that does make it a little bit difficult. But if you think about the amount of times that the West have stuck their nose into other countries' business, even when it doesn't make a lot of sense for them to fucking do it, I think you can understand why the rest of the world has had enough. Why the rest of the world is just sort of going, you know what, fuck this. We'll go our own way because clearly you guys don't care. You just want power. Personally, being from the States, I think we need to mind our own business and fix our problems here. I agree with that. I think America should look at itself and fix its own issues because I don't think if you look around the West, I think the West has enough problems of their own that they don't need to worry about the rest of the world's problems. That's just my personal opinion.
Take a sponsor for, it depends on what it is. Like, I mean, a sponsor, like if Vladimir Putin sponsored me, I don't know, probably not. I think that'd be kind of weird, but that's about it. It's interesting take. No, it's not really. It's just, and there were people that were mad about.
I don't think I necessarily disagree with Asmongold's take either. Asmongold just said straight up, look, I'm going to do whatever is best for me. I don't give a fuck. I can respect that. I can respect that take. Would I necessarily do that? To some extent, yes, but also to some extent, no. Because if I only did what was good for me, I would take all the mobile and NFT sponsorships I got a couple of months ago. Like, if I took all of the fucking NFT sponsorships that was offered to me over the last 6 months, dude, I would already be off the fucking grid. Those companies paid big bucks. I decided not to take it, though, because I do not agree with what they're doing. And I didn't want to have that on my content. But at the same time, if someone wants to do something just for themselves, I'm not going to judge them for that. Because ultimately speaking, and just to be clear, if Miskiv takes the sponsorship from Saudi Arabia, how does that affect you or me or anyone else? Do you think the situation for people in Saudi Arabia is going to be worse, the same, or better depending on Miskiv's decision to take the sponsorship or not? Do you think Miskiv's decision is going to have any impact on the lives of people in Saudi Arabia or the lives of people anywhere else in the world? Problem, if he takes it, he better not preach his moral against us. I don't think Miskiv ever preaches his morals against anyone, right? It would have zero impact. So in all fairness, it is something that he can do, and it's not going to matter to anyone else. Which, if you guys know my position on almost all things in life, it is simple. Do whatever the fuck you want to do. And as long as whatever you do does not interfere with me, I don't care. That is my literal position on all things in life. I couldn't care less. You do you, you be happy, and if your happiness does not interfere with my happiness, we good. Now, if your happiness was to stick your dick in my ass, we may have a problem, because I don't want your dick in my ass. But as long as that's not what brings you joy, do whatever the fuck you want, right? You want to stick your dick into a wall? Bro, more power to you, as long as it's not my wall. We good. Right? I couldn't care less. I have too many things to worry about in my life to worry about how other people live their lives. Like, there's way too many things that I care about. That is too low for me to even give a fuck. Not directly, but it's about building up Saudi Arabia, up a great country without problems, basically marketing. But no one's going to believe that, right? Like, no one's suddenly going to go, oh my God, Miskif went to Saudi Arabia, it must be a good country now. So I don't think it matters. But you have a proverbial white knights that think it is your responsibility as a human to be involved in everyone's problems. I don't think that's even white knights. I think there are a group of people out there in the world that really, really concern themselves with everyone else's life. These are also usually the people whose own lives are falling a fucking apart. These are the people that at the age of 30 still live with their parents. These are the people who don't have jobs, who can't take care of themselves, who do fuck well. I'm not talking about people who have a job, live with their parents because it is cheaper and because right now the world is fucked. I'm talking about people that don't have a job. They're not taking care of themselves. They live with their parents and they basically just feed off of their parents because that's all they do. And they happen to also be the people that want to tell the rest of us how we need to live our lives. And then they go on a weekend and they go break a couple of fucking shops and shit because now's the time to protest for the new world order and all that bullshit. Anyone in Saudi Arabia knows the horrors that state performs. True. But then if you're Miskif, you've never even heard of fucking Saudi Arabia, apparently. Connor almost warned Miskif that going to Saudi Arabia might not be the best idea. Wait, what?
It's actually a funny story. Miz literally offhandedly like mentioned that to me like in like May. And then I was about to be like, hey, maybe that's not a great idea. And then I thought about having to explain like geopolitics to Mizkif in that moment. And it was just us in the room. And I just said, you know what? It's not worth it. I was like, yeah, no, have fun. It sounds like a good time. I was about to have a whole conversation. I'm like, you know, this will catch up with you.
I love how, dude, I love how there's Twitch streamers that play video games all day that think that they can teach someone about geopolitics. That's funny. Anyways, Northern Lions, hot take on Saudi drama. All right, let's see this.
NL, are you going to Saudi Arabia for the Fortnite tournament? I have no idea what you're asking of me.
Best take fucking ever. That is the best take ever. Are you going to Saudi Arabia for the Fallout for the tournament? What? What tournament? Where? What's going on? I love that. It's just like, yeah, fuck it. I don't know what you're talking about, but sure, let's go. I'll go to Saudi Arabia. Let's go have a fucking tournament.
Okay, well, I mean, you're never gonna take a sponsorship from any place. Like, I mean, listen, I'm an American, but I'm not delusional.
Bro, for me, for the record, I'll just point this out. Like, I'm not taking a fucking military sponsorship. You know what I mean? U.S. Army comes to me and says, hey, Hassan, we would love to fucking collab with you. Fuck no. Do you understand? Like, that's where my code of conduct is. That's where my ethics is, okay? Plenty of Americans would, though, of course. They'd be like, yeah, why the fuck not? That's great. I think that is unjustifiable, okay? But at least even most Americans understand that it's unjustifiable when it comes to the Saudi thing.
Yeah, I don't like Hassan either. My issue with Hassan...
bad thing...
My issue with Hassan is that I've never heard Hassan have an original take that isn't also completely and utterly flawed in its rationality. Like, Hassan is... So, at least with Vosh, if anyone knows who the fuck Vosh is, at least with Vosh, the dude has a bunch of terms that he read up on. He doesn't understand half of them, but he has a bunch of terms and he uses big words. Like, he basically just spews the alphabet at people, and that makes him sound really smart while everything he says is really stupid. Hassan doesn't even necessarily have that. He just basically spews off whatever the fuck comes to mind. Whether that's right or wrong doesn't even matter, because half of his fucking viewers are so brain dead they wouldn't even know what the fuck is true or not. So at the end of the day, it doesn't matter. Hassan found an incredible market with communists and socialists online. Calling that brave, by the way, is fucking stupid. I watched the clip the other day of Hassan saying, I'm brave because I was the first person to start doing this online when no one else had the balls to do politics. And I was like, actually, no. Destiny was the first person to do this online. And you literally made a Twitch channel for communists and socialists. That's not brave, bro. That's like saying, yeah, I was a Nazi during Germany 1930. How brave was I? Like, it would have been more brave to not be a Nazi in the 1930s in Germany. Like, being a Nazi in the Germany in the 1930s was, yeah, all right, cool. You're in one of the cool kids, right? So it's sort of like, dude, you're not special for making a channel for communists and socialists online and thinking that that's like, oh my God, so brave. Most people online are fucking morons who think that socialism and communism is a good idea, even though communism has a fucking body count of 100 million people. If you're like anywhere from 20 to 100 million people, we don't actually know, because communist governments aren't really good at keeping records. But hey, you know, who gives a fuck, right? So it just sort of annoys me. Like, that's the only thing I have a problem with Hassan is the fact that so many people fall for his bullshit, even though there's nothing there. It's literally just a grifter saying things because he knows that's going to get him views. I could turn my channel into a communist utopia and I'd probably start getting views as well. Like, communists just want to hear their stupid ideas being said back to them the whole fucking time. It's a massive circle jerk. That's all it really is. Yeah, it's never real communism. Let's be fucking honest, right? Whenever communism goes bad, it's somehow not communism. But communism will work, just not this time. We just have to do it another way. So, you know.
Was a gay woman, correct? One of the streamers that was supposed to go over there was a gay woman, correct? Right? Is that I don't know. I only am just getting caught up.
Hassan is a champagne socialist or a champagne communist, which basically means they're a capitalist when no one's watching. That's literally it. Hassan is a capitalist when no one's watching. In the public eye, he's a fucking communist, and you better believe that. In the private eye, the dude owns a $3 million fucking mansion in California. The dude has a business that is thriving. He makes a shit ton of money that he's probably investing. The guy's making crazy amounts of money, and his viewers, who all sit at home because they don't have jobs, because they're waiting for the communist revolution so they can sit around and fucking sing Kumbaya all day while making their straw hats and shit, they're just throwing money at him because they think, oh my God, he's going to be the leader of the revolution. I can tell you this, if the war breaks out between capitalists and communists, Hassan is the first one out the fucking door, bro. He's not going to fight. He's not going to pick up his gun and join you in the war. The dude's going to cower in his fucking basement of $3 million just because he's going to be too afraid. The dude is simply trying to make money, and you're too stupid to fucking realize it. That's why I've told you millions of times on this channel, do not expect me to be your activist. I am not. I'm not going to stand for your fucking rights. I'm not going to march for your fucking rights. I don't care. I say what I feel, and I complain about shit because I do that well. But if you want me to go stand in the sun all day and fucking march for your rights, you're shit out of fucking luck. It's not happening. That's not my job, not my circus, not my fucking monkeys. And I don't want you to give me money thinking that I'm going to help you save the world. That's too much effort that I don't want to fucking do. It's as simple as that. If the war breaks out, capitalists will buy out people on the fence, and all people that are left will be broke as fuck. Don't understand is that communism took off in Eastern Europe because it was the alternative to kings eating you alive. It's 2022. We're over that. You don't have to. Can we drive you for our rides in a big limo? Yeah, sure. That you can do. I'll. If you guys want to drive me around as your king, right, and you want to declare me as the king of capitalism, I'll do that. I will join you then. But I am going to expect an air-conditioned car. I'm not standing in the fucking sun. That's not happening. And you better believe as soon as we win that war, I'm dissolving the government and everyone's going to faint for them fucking selves. Like, that's going to be my speech. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we won. Now go forth and prosper. And then I'm leaving and I'm done.
Up on this
drama. Gonna play games again. I'll be live in 5.
Oh, that's probably not where you want to be. Yeah, that's but the money, that shit might be a trap, dog. Nah, fuck that.
Wait, Emiru is bisexual? Emiru is bisexual and she's going to Saudi Arabia? Oof. Like, oh my god. I really hope she doesn't plan to hook up with one of those Saudi ladies, because there are some hot fucking Saudi chicks. And I really hope she's not trying to hook up, because it might be more than she bargained for if indeed she is planning to do a hookup. I said it a million times, I would become an authoritarian leader and use my unlimited power to dismantle the government. Be the man, that's exactly what I would do. Emiru is based. True. Well, not gonna lie, if there wasn't into computers, gamings, movies, anime, into weeb chill show like year, I would go and conquer as Victor Von Doom. Well, there you go. I would not go and conquer. It seems like a lot of work.
I think it's funny when streamers like when they do something and they're just like, oh wait, shit, the real world.
I don't think the real world should matter. I'm gonna be honest with you. I think this entire drama thing is stupid as fuck. I think all of this is completely bonkers to me. You want to know why? The only people that have a problem with any of this are people that think that Miskif is some fucking god that's been sent from the heavens to lead humanity. They think that Asmongold is supposed to be the most rational human being on the planet, even though Asmongold tends to be incredibly rational. That's not the point. The point is, we're streamers. Now, I say we, I'm obviously not on the level of any of these people, but here's a bit of news for anyone that didn't fucking know. You should never listen to someone who willfully makes their money by sitting in the bedroom and playing video games. That person have achieved nothing. Nothing. There's no achievement that backs this up. Whether you have 100 viewers or 10,000 viewers, it makes no difference in your ability to actually lead the world to any sort of favorable outcome. This is the bottom of the lowest hanging fucking fruit. The only thing I can actually call myself is an entertainer, which I do all the time. My job is to entertain you. It's not to teach you. There's nothing that I can teach you because I'm a stupid fucking asshole that wasn't talented or educated enough to do anything fucking else. That's as simple as it is. 99% of streamers are so fucking stupid that this is pretty much the extent of what they can fucking do. If you take this away from them, they're fucked. They're screwed. So why are people pretending like these people should act like adults? They live their lives, myself included. We live our lives like children, like teenagers. Waking up at all fucking manner of hours in the morning, getting online, playing video games, going out with their friends, not even cleaning their fucking rooms just filled with bullshit, and they're the ones that you're going to take moral advice from? Dude, the world is fucked if those are the people that you're looking for moral clarity. No, they're entertainers, and it's fine. There's nothing wrong with it. Most of you in my stream have stressful jobs, right? You go do your job. It's a fucking horrible thing. No one likes their job. So it's nice to tune into a stream where you get to relax, laugh a little bit, see the most absurd drama in the world, maybe react to some videos. It's nice. It breaks the monotony. It gives you something to look forward to. And that's great. But that's my only job. I have no other job. I have no other obligation here. Nor do I want it, because I don't think I'm qualified for it. I can only entertain you. That's as far as it should go, and that's as much as you should expect. If you expect more, you're expecting too much. It's simple as that. What about from Twitter? That's where I see my morals. Well, Twitter, yes, Twitter is a solid fucking place to get your morals from. I like my job, but I had to grind 15 years to get there. Be the man, and that's great, and I'm really happy for you for loving your job. But even you need a place to sort of calm down, release some steam, kick back, relax, and if my stream can provide that avenue for you, I'm very happy. But that's all my stream is to you. You should not come here trying to learn shit, because if you learn shit from me, you're basically going to be a fucking failure in life, dude. I'm a fat cunt sitting in my bedroom talking about video games. What can I teach you? Like, seriously, what do you want me to teach you? There's nothing here. Go away if that's what you think you're going to get here. If you want entertainment and you just want to laugh at someone saying stupid shit, I'm your man. I can do that. I know how to do that. Tubot, I'm glad to hear that. I'm really happy to hear that. Gonna learn how Aldo torture in Warhammer 40. Don't be so harsh on yourself. P-Dog, I'm not being harsh. This is not me like hunting for what's the fucking English word for it? I'm not trying to get people to sort of go, oh my god, no, dude, you're actually very intelligent. I'm not. I don't want to be. I think I'm above average intelligence. If I'm honest with you, I think I'm above average intelligence. In fact, I think I'm actually more intelligent than just above average. But I still don't think that you should listen to me. I don't think I have all the answers. In fact, I'm smart enough to know that I don't have all of the answers. I'm still trying to figure a lot of shit out. My ideology, my beliefs in things change every single fucking day. So I do not believe that I am the person that you should take advice from. And I'm not saying that because I think, oh my god, people should have sympathy for me or anything like that. No, actually the contrary. I just want people that come into the stream to not expect something that I'm not willing to provide them. If people start coming to my stream because they want some kind of moral guidance, I'm going to stop streaming, because now you're putting pressure on me to provide something that I'm not comfortable providing. I don't want to be your moral guide on anything. I just want to make you laugh. I want to make you have fun. That's fucking it. That's it. I don't care about anything else. If you walk out of this stream never having learned a single thing, I've done my fucking job. If you walk out of the stream having learned something, I feel like I failed, because that wasn't the point. I don't know what the fuck I taught you. It kind of reminds me of the Parks and Recreation episode. I don't know if you guys saw it. Parks and Recreation, Ron and some other guys asking Ron to teach him stuff, and Ron doesn't want to teach him shit. So Ron basically teaches him how to do woodworking, right? Now this guy keeps taking all the advice that Ron is giving him to build a crib and trying to apply that to some real world thing. And Ron gets super fucking annoyed because he's not trying to teach this guy real life shit. He's just trying to teach him how to make a fucking crib. And the guy keeps going, yeah, fuck it. I'm going to do something else. And this obviously means something deeper. That's sort of it, right? If you get something deeper from this stream, you got it all by your fucking self. It wasn't meant to be. Yeah, I've learned to keep my mouth shut of things I don't know anything about. If I'm arguing a point, it's because it's something I'm deeply familiar with. I mean, I'll argue something if it just off the cuff doesn't make sense to me, or if I just instinctively disagree with it, I'll argue about it. But I'm also not above apologizing if I think I'm wrong, or if someone proves me wrong on something. I'd easily apologize and say, oh, never mind, I completely got that wrong. The Nerd OTK runs a cult, probably looking for believers and followers, maybe even participants, right? I mean, if you go to a stream on Twitch expecting counseling therapist sessions, oof, true. Teach a man to fish and he will believe he knows geopolitics. Often I argue my opposite viewpoint just for the discussion. Playing devil's advocate is fun. It really is fun. I do enjoy playing a little bit of devil's advocate. It can backfire quite heavily because a lot of people don't understand what a devil's advocate is, or what devil's advocacy is, which means you get yourself into a thing where someone calls you like a communist, for example, and you're like, no, what? I was pushing back on your ideas because I didn't actually agree with your ideas. So, for example, not long ago, someone called me as a an undercover socialist because I had an argument with them because they said if you just have the free market, everything will be fine, which is a position that I used to hold as well until I used my brain and realized, wait a second, there's some things that don't make much sense there. If you just have the free market, who's going to stop companies from being absolute complete fucking scumbags? As they would be, because humans can be absolute complete fucking scumbags. So this guy said this, and I wasn't even taking a devil's advocate position, but I was pushing back and sort of explaining to him why that would probably not fucking work, and why, if that's your answer, so if the answer is either government oversight or complete free market, then I would rather go for government oversight, even though I would prefer a more in the middle system. But because I said, I would go for the government oversight system, I was called a fucking socialist. And it wasn't my position. It was just sort of trying to explain to this guy that that would be better than a system where companies get to police themselves effectively. Disco option, I agree with that 100%. Ilizek, that is so true. The biggest issue in today's world is that the vast majority of people have not reasoned themselves into positions. They heard a position that they liked the sound of, and then they just went, yep, this is what I believe now. Thanks for playing. Niara, there are actually economic models that computer models that maps that out and actually suggest that that's not true. So there are models for everything, and they do see like worlds in which that could happen. But some of the models that do run on a complete free market system where the government has zero regulation actually seems to suggest that it could potentially lead to just a lot of competition. So there's so much competition that no one actually gets to reach the point of mega power. Like I said, this is sadly a model, and models tend to not necessarily portray reality. Because again, if you have someone like Jeff Bezos in that market, they're gonna figure out how to build a fucking monopoly, right? Velos, thank you so much for the follow, dude. Really appreciate that. Welcome to the channel. Thank you. Good example of this is Jeff Bezos. Jeff Bezos wanted to start a grocery store. The problem with grocery stores is, you can't really be competitive with a grocery store because groceries tend to have very low profit margins. But what if you didn't have to worry about the profit margins? What if you had a data company that provided data centers that was making so much fucking money that you could undersell your groceries at a loss and still not matter because you're making billions upon billions of dollars from your data centers? That's what Jeff Bezos did. This is why Amazon is the #1 killer of small companies in the world. Because you go to Amazon and you can buy 6 tomatoes for sometimes half the price of your greengrocer. So the mom pop store just down the road that's selling you 6 fucking tomatoes, they charge double than what Amazon is charging, and Amazon has Prime, so it's free. So you basically just order, it's there within an hour, bam, no questions asked. Who are you going to go for? You're going to go for Amazon. So the small mom pop store closes down. Amazon sold those tomatoes to you at a loss. They didn't make any money on it. They could because they're making all their money from data centers. And what's going to end up happening is as soon as Amazon have closed all of the small businesses, now they'll hike their prices because no one else is there to compete. So now they can charge pretty much whatever the fuck they want. Mom pop store was middleman. To some extent, yes. Didn't Bezos want to do bookshop, though? Not grocery. Maybe I misremembered. It was like, no, I wasn't saying that Jeff Bezos wanted a grocery store. He did actually want to do a publisher, a book publisher, which is how he got into the whole Amazon thing. I was saying Jeff Bezos goes into groceries, but you want to be a grocery store, but being a grocery store is very fucking hard because you can't really undercut prices. How are you going to do that? There's not, like, if you go to any greengrocer, the profit margins on most of their green stuff is 3 to 5%. So what kind of discount can you offer? You can't really. So then you go a different route. You start a data center. So I was basically explaining this is why Amazon can undercut and undersell everyone in this space. A close associate of mine was part of the original Walmart rollout. That is literally what they did. Took the loss to ruin the competition because they were big enough. Be the man. Yeah, that's exactly it. Right? Thetheus, I can actually see that. Did you know AGS is killing Lost Ark? Check the stream chart. Surprise, no one talk about it. What do you mean it's killing Lost Ark? What do you mean AGS is killing Lost Ark? I mean, that's not like Amazon killing it. That's just... I mean, it's still fine, though. I mean, it is dipping. Well, that was quite the fucking dip, right? But... yeah, I wouldn't say this is like horrible. Yeah, I would argue this is fine. You know, June still had 200,000 people. Today, it's on 124,000 people playing right now. I think that's fine. If you look at the losses here, so last 30 days, they've gained minus 7,500. Yeah, I don't know if this is the death of it. I don't play Lost Ark anymore because why the fuck would I? Evans, how you doing, brother? Why would you play Lost Ark? That just makes no sense to me. This game is such a fucking cash grab. It just... I wouldn't play it. So the reason it's actually difficult to look at something like Final Fantasy or Elder Scrolls Online. Now, Elder Scrolls Online is going to be easier to check in the near future because Bethesda is finally closing their own launcher and moving everyone over to the Steam version. But the reason Final Fantasy is actually difficult to check is because almost no one has the Final Fantasy version or the Steam version of Final Fantasy 14. Most people play the Squeenix version of FF14. So you won't ever be able to know what the actual player numbers are. Lost Ark because of the gamble in it. Oh yeah, I also have to log into a different Steam account in order to play Lost Ark. So I also don't give a fuck too much about Lost Ark. I don't want to keep logging into new fucking Steam accounts the whole time, man. Yeah, I mean, I wish we lived in a world where game companies actually just revealed how much money, how many players they have. Like, we should be able to know that. Like, you should make that public. It's one of the reasons I love Steam and I love games that primarily launch on Steam, because you can't hide that. You can't hide how many players you have. When you launch on Steam, the Steam charts are up to date and they are public. So everyone can see exactly how many people are actually playing your game. And that's nice. That is nice. All right, I'm gonna see if we have some time, a little bit of time for this, the final video for the day before I have to fuck off again and go sit in the dark. I couldn't watch this last night because my power went out, so I'm gonna see if we can watch it now before my fucking power goes out. So if you already saw this, I apologize, but yeah, couldn't watch it. This is the first time I'm watching it now. So yeah, let's see. This is Ash of Creation Alpha 2 Basic Melee Weapon Attack Update. Unreal Engine 5. How many of you have any sort of hope for Ashes of Creation? So, Vidaman, we know it's not a scam, right? Because they've already had alpha testing, and people on their Patreon actually do get to test the game. So we know it's not a scam. The thing that I'm more worried about, I'm not worried about them not being able to deliver the game. What I'm more worried about is that I don't think the game is going to work with everything that is in it. I think the game is far too player-driven, and players tend to do weird shit that you can't control. And once players start doing weird shit, it's going to destroy the game for other people.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another live stream day for Ashes of Creation. Super excited to be with everybody today. We have a pretty awesome showcase. I think it's something that the community has been asking for a little while. Actually, I think the last time we showcased some combat gameplay was a year ago, roughly, almost. But I am very excited to show you guys what we have in the works today. I have joining us with me today two of our extraordinary engineers, Adam and Keenan. How you guys doing?
Hello, Steven. Doing well. How are you?
I am doing very good, running around like a chicken with its head cut off, but otherwise very good.
Nice.
Keenan, how you doing, buddy?
I mean, it looks beautiful.
I'm doing good. Glad to be here.
It looks like a
I'm
beautiful
excited to
game.
have you. This
At
is your
least
first stream, I
everything
believe,
we've seen
correct?
so far
This
looks
is my
gorgeous.
first stream.
Very cool.
So let's
Adam, you've
see.
been on a couple ones before this, yeah?
Yeah. It's good to be back.
Very cool. And then I also have joining us today one of our senior game designers, Mr. Trad. How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing great. I'm glad to be back on stream.
Welcome
Why don't they
back.
show
Very
themselves on
excited
camera? The
to
Rat.
show
Thank
what
you for the
guys
follow,
have
dude.
been
Really
working
appreciate
on,
that.
what
Welcome
the
to the
team has
channel.
been working on.
Thank you.
I know I probably already said this on the stream, but I'm going to reiterate it here, that what you're about to see is not the final combat in Ashes.
Okay.
This is
Thanks for the first time chat,
portion
bro.
of the combat systems. Obviously, a lot goes into making combat, right?
Yeah.
From a visual effects perspective, from a mechanics and functionality on the engineering side.
The thing that bugs
the
me a little
design
is the clouds. Like, why are those clouds not moving? Or are they just moving really slowly?
elements and how it synergizes with our class kits and ability
Oh,
systems.
they are
the,
moving, just really slow.
balance of these things, the audio component, the UI. There's a lot that goes into making combat.
No, they are moving. It's just
for an
super
MMORPG,
slow.
And the combat you're going to see today is very focused on one component. Actually, two components. I'm sorry. The first of which is our basic melee weapon attacks, in addition to our floating text UI. So keeping that in mind, that is the context of today's presentation. Previously, I had decided that I wanted to wait to showcase combat.
It's that
until-
variety of systems that worries me.
Until we
Tovo.
had pretty much everything done and ready to show.
So take, for example, their mayor system. They have a mayor system where players become the mayor and then get to decide what the town does. And then they have, for example, the caravan system, where if you want to move large quantities of goods from one city to the next, you need caravans. All of this is player-generated content. So what happens if players just decide, fuck caravans? Well, then there's no caravans, which means a major part of the game is just not happening. What happens if players decide, caravans are actually too risky? We're not going to do caravans anymore. Well, again, a major part of the game is now just non-existent. What happens if, in order to unlock the raid, a city has to move in a very specific direction, but, the mayor decides, screw it. We're going to move the city in a whole different direction. The raid never opens up, so if you're a PvEer, well, you don't get to raid. There's so much in this game that is reliant on players interacting with the game in the right way. And when's the last time you've seen a bunch of humans react in the right way? Humans almost never react in the fucking right way, which is the problem. And yeah, you're going to have streamer servers where streamers are going to do absurd crap because they can. Bobby and Gloom, thank you for the follow. Really appreciate that. Welcome to the channel. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I can't wait for the abusive communities to start forming around this. Gonna be some hardcore gatekeeping. Oh yeah. I've got a feeling that nothing they've said so far is going to be implemented as stated after alpha. We'll see. We'll see. I do think that during the beta, they're gonna probably reiterate a lot on the game. Because it's gonna be in beta that they're finally gonna realize, wait, this is fucking horrible. This is not working as intended.
And as time grew, I decided what I wanted to do instead was showcase little portions of each component of the combat system, starting with the basic melee weapon attacks, and then we'll move into, in a later live stream, the ability systems and the class kits. And of course, we're not going to show every class kit and everything that's going to be in Alpha 2. We want some of that to be a surprise, right? But we do want to showcase the work that's been done,
well,
and the direction that
Two Boarded is an indie company, but they do have about $30 million behind them. So it's indie, but it does have a AAA budget. So it's not quite fair to call this indie.
That's been taken so that we get player feedback. And personally, playing this, I think it feels amazing. I think it looks great. I'm super impressed continually by our team's talents, as I know a lot in the community are, after having seen the character creator and the weather systems and season systems. There's
Sunjima, so the 30 million was what Steven put into the game himself. So that was his money that he put into it. I believe the community as a whole also probably pushed millions of dollars into this project. So it's probably closer to 60, 70 million that the game is going to cost by the end of it, which would be in line with what a lot of MMOs cost. I think you can make, most MMOs is made off of like 50 to 100 million for the majority of them. There are those that are more expensive, but the majority of them is anywhere from 50 to 100 million. Remember, we're $1 billion company, can't even make an MMO, right? Dude, I literally tweeted out today about the disconnect between players and AAA companies. So don't even fucking get me started, bro.
So there's a very high quality bar that we're setting ourselves up for with Ashes of Creation, and I think it is what the community wants.
I love how there's just some lone ship
where we get where we get
fucking sailing.
So focus today is going to be on basic melee weapon attacks. It's going to be on root motion versus split body, the types of agency that's provided to the player while also respecting the weightedness we want from certain weapon groups, and also talking about the UI element and showcasing floating text and the types of customization options that players are going to have. So keep that in mind. That's the context of today's presentation.
Let's see this.
And when you give the commentary, let's focus on what you like and what you think there could be improvements on from that perspective. So without further ado, we are in probably an area that you guys are familiar with.
5 minutes in.
This is the Riverlands biome yet again. You saw this in the last month's live stream, but we are in an area that is known to harbor some scary things.
Okay.
So I'm just
let's see the scary things.
Kind of
Amazon Game Studios.
And Adam, Keenan, Trad, if you guys want to talk a little bit about how this process began all those months ago on defining good combat for Ashes of Creation.
Does the water look good?
Sure. I would say
I don't like it. It looks
starts
painted.
with, all of the hundreds of thousands of hours, cumulative hours of MMO we have under our belt, right?
We have a lot of hours of MMO gameplay under our belts collectively.
We just got to push a couple buttons and we're immediately like, oh, it feels good or it doesn't feel good.
It's funny, Keenan, actually, you say that. one of the I mean, you guys all know this because every one of you went through an interview with me, but one of the qualifying aspects of joining the team is what type of MMOs do you like to play?
Nice. Yeah, so it starts there, and then from there we sort of do our research.
You know what I love? I'm not trying to take a dig at the guy. Because I actually think Steven sounds like a really nice guy. But I really love when, like, especially game developers make jokes. Because it is never funny. It's never funny. It just never works. And they always laugh at it. He just went there. Yeah, you know, you guys will know because obviously you're not hiring. But you know what one of the qualifying questions is for people who want to join Intrepid Studios? What kind of MMOs do you play? And then the other guy sitting next to him just goes, yeah, that is kind of important. It's like, oh my God, that joke just fucking bombed, bro.
You know, we have to take a look at the state of the art, and then we
oh, that is cool.
We study it. We form hypotheses about what exactly it is that makes things feel good or not feel good.
Wait, did it block? I don't think it blocked.
We make those things in as controlled a manner as we can, and then we turn the knobs, we tweak things, we see what feels good, what doesn't feel good.
I don't mind the combat. It looks nice.
Some processes, and then we put them to the test. And this is what
don't like, if we go back a little bit, like look at this first parry, like block parry. It doesn't seem to register anything. It's probably lowering the damage a little, but it doesn't seem to register anything.
We study
just look
it,
at this.
We form hypotheses about
so
what exactly it is that makes things feel good.
Does nothing.
Or not feel
they
good.
have to work on that. That's gonna feel super weird.
In as controlled a manner as we can, and then we turn the knobs, we tweak things, we see what feels good, what doesn't feel good. We come up with some rules, some processes, and then we put them to the test.
I like the animation. I think it looks a lot more fluid than what it felt like a few months ago.
Right? Like, you know, none of these things are like you form your theory on paper and then you go and you make the thing and it comes out to be exactly what you see now, right? Like it starts out the first time not super great, and then what we have to be able to do as engineers and designers is identify what is not great about those things.
I love the sound design. Sound is really cool. Karen, how you doing?
As long as you keep making
crashing it around instead of just clipping through.
You're gonna end up with
it looks fucking awesome.
Yeah, and for this exercise and finding what makes Ashes great specifically, we wanted to approach it from the ground up, answering individual questions.
It was actually one of my biggest complaints with the very first videos we saw of Ashes of Creation's combat. Well, it looked stupid. Like the combat was incredibly floaty in the beginning. It seems like they fixed the whole character stepping thing. I don't know if you guys know what I'm talking about. Right in the beginning, whenever you would swing your sword, your character would automatically move forward. So you would constantly have to reposition your character because your character is just naturally taking steps forward. It seems like they fixed that. Your character is now actually staying in place and making the attacks while still looking like they're taking a step forward to hit. They're not physically being moved in the world. It doesn't feel as floaty. They still could probably do a little bit of work around like registration of hits. The sound is there, but the visual element of it isn't there, which is actually something that I think a lot of games can learn from WoW. Because WoW's visual and auditory registration upon hits is actually fucking fantastic.
About our hypotheses and what we think is good, right? So we really focused on individual aspects that we think makes good combat and answered them one at a time.
Yeah, you look at that.
Very tightly, very tight iterative process.
It looks cool.
And we ended up at something that.
Dude, look at the blade.
Feels
look at as the blade hits the floor. Someone else said this. Who said that? Someone said they really liked that. As the blade hits the fucking floor, it leaves like a little mark behind. That's cool as shit.
Really, really good. So
yeah, just playing this, I am loving the hit reacts, the visual effects, all the ancillary components that go into making the combat, but more importantly, the pacing of this kind
It
of
is attention to
heavier
detail,
weapon
yes.
group. Also, as a side note, outside of the combat, one of the things I've not necessarily liked about MMOs traditionally in the past is that, excuse me, every portion of land is covered by some type of monster, right? And it kind of gives you this weird feel. But here, like, this is a very dangerous area that we're in, the environment. And part of it gets communicated by the aspect of these rocks and like the specific types of materials that's represented here, but you don't know exactly where the threat lies per se, right? You kind of move up into an area, and if you move too far, you get the audio cue of the monsters like arising. Your character gets into the combat stance. They have some really cool aspects of animation. The animation team did an amazing job with the roles here.
I love the animation of the rock golems coming to life. I told you guys right at the beginning when that first one over there came to life. I love the way it came to life. It wasn't just instantly spawning on top of you. It was literally coming to life, getting up and sort of looking at you and then coming towards you. That is attention to detail that is absolutely critical.
I am loving, and also they're like just like swinging away and then flying off. That is so great.
Yeah, I really like the camp feel of this area where, you don't just see these guys scattered around all over the world. No matter where you go, there's like something that's going to aggro you. It's more like, I'm going to...
You know what this game does have that I absolutely look forward to? It has that adventure feel to it, where I'm just looking at the world and I saw a tower over the river, like in the middle of the river, and another tower. And my immediate thought as I'm looking at him playing is, I want to go there. What's going on in there? Let's go fucking check what's going on there. I'm looking at this now and I'm going, what's through that fucking gap in the rocks there? I want to go through there. I want to go see what's on the other side of these rocks. Not a lot of games have that, but if a game nails that, it is perfect.
Grind here for a bit.
Yeah, Steven, you were talking about how you like how heavy the sword feels, and that weight impact, that is one of the combat pillars that we have been studying and honing in on in our development process.
Dude, the animation of this mob is so fucking cool. Captain Cadillac, how you doing, brother? Like, look at this. Look at when this golem grabs into the fucking ground and just rips it out and throws it at you. Just look at the golem.
That weight impact,
like, look at this.
One of the combat pillars that we have been studying and honing in on in our development process.
Yeah, it's kind of cool.
The other side of it is the other side of it being also like agency. To what extent does this weapon respect your intentions?
Yeah, I like that.
And that's the part that's important to me. I'm a classic player. I come from traditional MMOs, right? Like I want to be able to move and attack at the same time.
Right. Yes, and that was a huge point of feedback actually that we received during Alpha 1. Was that we started
obviously
with
there's
this
room for
more
improvement.
root motion approach to the basic weapon attacks, and ultimately we called an audible mid-test. I remember it was in that end of July or beginning of August month where we decided to implement a completely split body approach and get player feedback. And of course, the feedback was very positive, resoundingly positive, right? That players prefer that agency over that weightedness, but there's a little bit of a conflict there because they also didn't like the floaty feeling which comes along with not having the weighted approach. So how did that play into your guys'
this is called Ashes of Creation.
This current approach on the weapon attacks? How did you blend those two?
Yeah, so we kind of approached it from looking at player agency primarily, as Keenan had said, and the games that really handled player agency the best are those like classic MMOs, right? Players really like how smooth the classic MMO feel, how much player agency they get out of it, and then we took that and we tried building this sort of impact and weight on top of it, really making attacks feel satisfying, making it feel
There's still
like
a little bit of
the
floatiness
inertia
here
of
and
the
there
weapon
that they're
and
gonna have to
movements
try and
are
fix.
accurate, physically
Like,
accurate.
if you pay
And, we
attention, every
accomplished that
once in a
through
while,
number of
your
ways.
character does
Really,
float
again,
a
talking
little.
about the process, we tried identifying each individual aspect of what we got out of these, more modern action games, and tried incorporating that into our classic MMO base. I think.
Do we know if Dark Souls is what they're going for? Because I can almost immediately tell them what's wrong with that. Like, why this is not going to work as a Dark Souls game.
It all comes down to looking at it not as a binary of, are we doing split body or are we doing root motion combat? It's looking at everything as modular pieces and then dialing in those numbers to make something that feels high in player agency, feels very impactful, like it has a lot of inertia,
Dagger.
it feels very
All
physical.
right, let's see. He's got a fucking dagger
my
now.
litmus test for agency in combat is take any moment in combat, pause time, look down at your hands, look at the keyboard. The buttons that you're pressing should be the directions that your character is moving. So with these weapons, even though there are little...
Does he have one or two daggers? Seems like only
little bits
one.
of root motion here or there, they're always respecting your WASD input, and I think that's what makes them feel good.
I think another thing that you guys did that helps with that is the timing of which that gets registered, right? Like, it's not, at one iteration we had it where it detected what your input was.
I really hope that people don't expect that, because it's going to run into the exact same problem that New World did. You cannot have a Dark Soul-esque MMO. Because the issue is you're going to end up having how many mobs? So Dark Souls has a lot of boss fights, but its mobs are very linear, and there's a few different types of mobs that you tend to encounter. So you'll encounter your skeletons, then you'll encounter, say, flying mobs. So they do scale up in difficulty, but they are sparse. It's not like it's consistent. Whereas MMOs tend to have incredible amounts of mobs because that's part of the MMO feel. New World had the same thing. It was kind of fun in the beginning fighting a zombie, and then it gets really boring because all of the zombies do exactly the same fucking thing. All of the wolves do exactly the same thing. All of the bears do exactly the same thing. And then eventually you just get bored because if you fought one, you know exactly what the combat animation is going to be. And you saw it on this one. They will, during the fight at exactly the same time, put their hands into the fucking earth and start throwing shit at you. Once you've figured out that timing, it's simple. As soon as they get locked into that animation, you just run to the side, wait for them to do it. You're going to get hit. You don't have to block shit. And it's easy. So I do hope that players don't expect Dark Souls, because that's just not going to work. It works in Dark Souls because it's not meant to be an MMO. I don't want it to try and emulate that. More interested in the class combination thing that they said they were going for. They are also intentionally placed in the levels. True. They are literally built for you to encounter them when you're ready to encounter them, which is, again, not necessarily how MMOs are designed.
Was at the beginning of the attack, and that just felt like if I decided to change my mind and go left instead of right in the middle of that attack, it's too bad. It already kind of queued that, and so I think now what you guys are doing is having it happen.
I just want to know, do they have warlocks? That's all I care about. If they have a warlock or something similar to a warlock, I'm good.
Your input and adjusting.
That's what I'll play.
These daggers, this dual wielding, these dual daggers. Talk to me a little bit about the differences between the heavier weapon group and the light weapon group.
Yeah, so initially in our investigation, we wanted to start with the...
Dude, that damage comes out fast, bro. Look at all that fucking damage.
Really
Holy
blend,
shit.
the weight of an attack and introduce or
Not yet,
start with player
no.
agency and then introduce that weight of the attack into it. We figured the least risky weapon to start with would be the lightest weapon possible. You know, little daggers that move very fast, very high player agency, and not necessarily focused on big weight, much like a heavy sword. So we started with that and tried introducing little bits and pieces here and there, like small bits of root motion to get that nice like dashy feel in when you're attacking, and play into that inertia. I know Keenan might want to talk more about the
doesn't matter what you have.
sheets
You always
we
have that big
introduced for
fucking ability.
figuring out these timings that feel good.
So what abilities do you have with the daggers?
Part of our process for communicating cross-department is using frame timing diagrams and being specific about how we not only want to animate, but also how we want to move during different frames of the animation. And we found that to be very successful.
I don't know if I like the
One
fact
of
that
the things that makes the
I definitely don't like the fact that all of his abilities so far seem to be exactly the same regardless of the weapon they use. That makes it weird. Cask, how you doing? Because the giant spinny thing, the whirlwind, that looked exactly the same as when he had the big sword, which is not what it would be when you have daggers. If you're having daggers, whirlwind would probably be something akin to, spinning the daggers around you in some kind of magical effect, or just spinning with a much closer arc, so you don't have that massive arc of damage. I don't know how I feel about that, but maybe they haven't started doing that yet, right?
The dagger's different than the sword is that the daggers never really slow you down. They're both respecting your directions, but the swords will actually slow you down at certain times. Like leading up into the strike, your split body movement is sort of blending down toward 0, and then you strike, and then it blends back up toward to 1. The daggers are not doing any blending like that. You're just split body, and then you're striking, and then you're back into split body. It's like a seamless process.
Yeah, I'm just playing with the directionals here. I mean, on the animation team, they did a phenomenal job. I'm loving the kind of foot placement and movement, the strafing feeling on the body there. I know Alexi did a lot of work on the IK.
It does look cool though, doesn't it?
Kind of stepping up different portions. It feels really good to play.
Oh yeah, considering how physically based we are and animation driven our combat system is, it was super important that the animators, get all of that right, and they absolutely knocked it out of the park. I mean, one of the biggest things I think to making good feeling attacks is getting all of the departments involved.
I love the floor effects, dude. Like, I fucking love that.
Everyone
the ground effects,
so,
it looks so cool.
We started with chopping up animations to build an ability that we thought felt good, and then we wanted to pass that off to animation to finalize those animations by chopping up our abilities and making animations that feel good, and then we can all loop everyone back together and finalize that ability.
I really hope they're gonna have like a little bit of sort of like a projection by the finished product. Like, if I'm gonna throw down my hammer, right, and use one big ability, I want to know exactly where that thing's gonna hit, especially in an MMO where we're gonna be raiding. I don't feel like I want to figure out exactly. I don't feel like I want to figure it out. So am I far enough from this? Am I too far away from this? Is it gonna hit? Isn't it gonna hit? Is the boss just outside of the range of my big hammer fucking ability, or is it maybe just too close so it's not actually gonna hit? There should be some projection, some ground effects that project exactly where it's gonna be hit. That's what I want. Is this Unreal Engine 5? Because the ground textures in the tech demo were graphic porn. Yes, this is Unreal Engine 5. They recently made the switch from Unreal Engine 4 to Unreal Engine 5. Trickstar, don't fucking say that.
Too, so,
shut the fuck up, bro. What are you saying?
It's a bunch of different departments iterating on a very micro scale to
on the
build
store,
something
you asshole.
that is just awesome.
Giving them ideas already. Fuck.
Yeah, the animation team definitely had to take a deep breath when we went to them like, hey, those 3-part weapon combos that we like so much? We want different ones for each direction that you can move in. Oh, and also you need to be able to weave between the directionals at any time.
That is pretty funny. One of the things that's interesting and is
Ship
always a
looks
point
cool,
of
man.
contention for those of us who have perhaps played different games and have become accustomed to specific visual representation of these
I love the blood
damage
effects as they
floating
hit him.
text, right? And I want to showcase a little bit. I'm going to let them hit on me for a little bit just so you can kind of see directionally damage you take, which is indicated in this red number, floats towards your left-hand side. And when you do damage to a target, they float to your right-hand side. Now, one of the very important aspects of these floating texts is providing the player with customization options that they can adjust the size of the floating text. They can adjust the color composition on how these texts are represented. They can also include damage icons to indicate the ability that's used for those
that's
floating
good.
text. And importantly,
Cask, yeah.
we also call out.
It's enough to satisfy your visual need to see it. It's not overly done to the point where it almost looks cartoonish, but it's also not so little that you constantly want to see it. It's just enough that you go, okay, I'm being hit. I can see the animation of me taking damage. I like how the character is sort of bobbing as it's being hit, which is also so fucking important. And they just say the golden phrase. All of this is customizable. So from floating text, something that I almost always turn off is incoming damage. I don't give a fuck what's coming in. I just want to see my health bar. If my health bar is going to 0, that's bad. If the health bar is full, that's good. I don't really care about the exact amount of damage that is being done to me. That's not an important number. It just fills up your screen with nonsense. I would much rather see the ability that is going to be used or that is being used at the time to know how to counter it. But I do want to see my own damage because that is always fun. I turn off incoming damage even on tanks. Yeah, there's no point in knowing. I've already been hit. Oh, I've been hit by 1,000 damage. If only I fucking blocked that. Great. That doesn't mean shit for the fact that you didn't block it, right? Because it's not like incoming damage is telling you what will happen. It tells you what had already happened. So it's a useless number to have on. It just fills up your screen with nonsense.
Out the crits that you do in a separate way, how they pop in, they're slightly above those the other numbers, and then more so, we also have additional functionality for cumulative damage value. So I'm going to kind of go through that. You'll see here as I press different option. Now we've changed the colors.
Shit, you can change. Did you see that? He changed the font as well as the colors. Like it suddenly became bold instead. I like that.
Sure.
Yeah.
Is that color
more bold now?
Or am I do I not have my...
The color is also different. It's yellow now instead of orange.
Is it? Okay. Let me try this very quick. Oh, maybe that's not. Hold on, let me find a different monster. I hope that's working. If it's not, we can show that a little later.
And slap.
Let me press this button. Oh, here we go. Okay, so you see the color is changing now, and that's something that the player has agency over, right? You can assign different types of colors that you want. That was changing. I think the one I was pressing actually was changing the size.
Changing the font, dude. You were changing the font.
Again. There you go. You can see that size now is larger. You can showcase XP if you want.
There you go. That's the different font.
The numbers a little bit as well, but providing kind of
I would go for bold.
And character
Definitely.
Customization, player customization options for these floating text I think is super important. But I love the way that they feel that kind of classic, very almost.
I don't know if I don't know.
Oh yeah,
I would go for bold
the
too.
best flavor is just vanilla.
The only thing that I think would be a problem for me is the speed at which it comes out. Like they must have the ability to accumulate it over, say, a number of seconds. So, give you the option to go, tell me how much damage I've done in the last 3 seconds, every 3 seconds, rather than seeing in every individual hit. Because look at when he's pulling all of this again. It's so many fucking numbers on the screen that none of it really matters after a while. They kind of just all disappear into just a cacophony of fucking mess of numbers. Like, look at this.
Totally agree. Yeah, but the UI team's done a great job on the functionality for that.
And it was even
it's
worse
feeling
with the
pretty good.
daggers. Like, if you're just fighting one thing, that's
very cool.
fine.
So,
but multiple
where
things,
are we
what does it matter?
now when it comes to kind of the spectrum of light to heavy attack options on these basic weapon attacks? What's kind of next for this as we showcase it to the players?
Well, I think we've sort of defined our spectrum with the light and the heavy when it comes to agency versus weight versus impact. When you look at the heavy, I think we're close to saying that this is sort of the most we want to compromise agency for weight and impact. And once we have that upper bound, we can sort of play with all of the different intermediate points, right, as we start to build out other weapons.
Big damage.
But we have interesting explorations as well, and how all of this translates into ranged and also ultimates.
Dude, whenever you listen to how developers speak about a game, you realize how difficult it actually is to make a
Another
game.
component, by the way, of defining
Because it really isn't just about slapping a bunch of shit together and now you have a game.
And weapon trailings, the intensity of those weapon trailings, how they scale based on the type of weapon, the level of weapon that you have, but not just the trailing on the weapon per se, but also the ground decals. Like for this heavy weapon, that first strike, you see that kind of that decal.
That looks so cool, bro. That looks so fucking cool, man.
And even on the backswing, like when I hit the ground behind me, it's causing that decal.
Yep.
Yeah, and a lot of that stuff gets down into the really low-level systems details. Like, we want to pass the artists as much information as we can about actual combat ongoings so that they can inform the effects as precisely as they can, or as precisely as they need to, rather.
Yeah, and we really wanted to build on a technical side. We really wanted to build the combat system to, like I said earlier, be as physical as possible. So we have it very animation driven. Everything is handled based on a reference of animation as opposed to like nebulous timings, right? Which allows it to feel very impactful and very responsive. So when you hit the ground decal actually.
Okay, I just noticed it again. This game seems to have a problem, and I've noticed it now in 4 of their last live streams, and it doesn't seem to ever get fixed. Look at the character. It does not look like the character is actually standing on the world. It looks as if the character is kind of floating on the world. Now, I don't know exactly what that is. It could be the shadow. Like, if you look at the shadow isn't actually touching the foot. As he's standing there, there's like a gap between the shadow and the foot, which creates maybe that floaty feeling. But none of this, I'll give you guys, just look at him running. It does not look like he's actually running on the world. It looks like he's running just a couple of inches above the world.
Nebulous timings, right? Which allows it to feel very impactful.
You see that when he's standing there? Doesn't look like he's standing on the ground there. It's only the alpha echo? Yeah, sure. I mean, now is the time to give that kind of feedback. This annoys me. It's not the only game that does that. There's plenty of games that do exactly this and never actually fix it. But it does annoy me. It's shit like this that drives me nuts after a while.
Responsive. So when you hit the ground decal actually appears on the ground when it should. You know, that's something that may not be seen in other MMOs. So we really wanted to make a big focus on that and focus on the responsiveness.
Yep. One thing I failed to mention, by the way, apologize for that, is actually you guys are seeing
just playing first person forehead
male for the first time in game. I know we've showed him on the stream before.
Yeah, the copium in this chat is fucking
these
real.
Character races get further fleshed out, but here you're seeing him in full flesh and blood, so to speak, virtual flesh and blood, I guess. In the game, and that's pretty cool to see. I can't wait for
wow, Nyara, that is some real
copium. Customization options in the character creator for this. So
I do think it might have something to do with the shadows. Yeah, it might have, or it could just be because it is an alpha, they haven't figured out exactly, because this is actually something that I only learned because I watched a documentary about World of Warcraft. So everything we see here is actually math. It's done with mathematics. Your position of your character within the game world is a mathematical thing. It all happens based on equations. Now, it could just be that the equation currently for where your character sits in the game world is a little bit too high. So your character isn't actually touching the ground yet, and that's something that they could probably change later on if they figure out that, oh my god, we need to put that down a little bit. And that could be why the contact shadows isn't working the way that it's supposed to. But right now, the thing, it could just be the shadow, because the shadow isn't physically touching the foot. It's more meant to emulate the foot, right? It's meant to emulate a shadow. That I picked that up and I don't like it. But that's a personal thing. Most people will probably never even fucking realize that that is going on. Unless, of course, they're like me. You have colliders. That's another thing that could be worked. Oh, that could be
also
measured.
Another thing that's, really important, I think, is the audio component. And Kat has done a phenomenal job.
Dragon Tamer, how you doing, brother?
In both the sound design for creatures as well as for the weapon. And actually, you guys haven't seen anything yet because we have a lot in store on that front that I think is going to be pretty cool. And it's all part of the presentation, right? It's all part of what
Star Citizen is going to be the savior of the gaming industry. No kappa. Self-like shading is important for having a believable world. Playing through MH Rise on PC. Rudy sends his regards. Oh shit! Nice, Dragon Tamer. Is Rurkon having fun? Shadow is probably dynamic and characters sometimes float. Look, this is something that they can almost definitely fix in Unreal Engine 5 because Unreal Engine 5 have automatic functions for this. It's actually one of the things that makes Unreal Engine 5 so much better than any other game engine in the world. Is the fact that it can automatically now detect light sources, throw shadows and cast shadows where it needs to be. Basically like a built-in RTX system, just straight off the bat. So Ashes of Creation, I don't think people are being wrong for being hyped about Ashes of Creation. I actually think that people are doing the right thing. I think you have it. I think you can be hyped for Ashes of Creation. I think people should probably temper that hype, but the game does promise a hell of a lot of things, and it does appear like they're trying to deliver it. The world looks fantastic. Everything we've seen so far looks really cool, even though it does have some ways to go still. But I think if one thing is true, the hype for Ashes of Creation proves that MMOs are not dead. Contrary to what a lot of people love to say. Oh, WoW isn't doing that well right now, but MMOs really is a dead genre. No, it's not. The fact that every single new MMO, including Ashes of Creation, is just getting mad hype, tells you that MMOs are not dead. It's just that there are so many bad MMOs out there that people have given up on even giving a fuck about MMOs at this point.
Makes combat feel good is also the auditory component in that. Talk to me a little bit about the capabilities that the audio team has when it comes to accessing combat and the abilities.
Yeah, similar to VFX, we plan on piping in a lot of information. That's something we've been working a lot on recently, is tooling for VFX and sound effects, right? It's a super important part, as you said, of the package in order.
I have a question for you. How is Diablo 4, with everything that they've promised, not an MMO?
To sell that weight and that immersion in the game, and there's going to be a lot coming online, so I'm really excited to see what we have in store for that. So yeah,
I don't know if we'll ever show it on stream, but we're building a sort of singular tool that all of the teams can use to build abilities and tweak them. Sound effects, visual effects, animation, design, engineering, all using the same tool, grounded in animation.
But Dragon Tamer, Diablo 4 promises to be always online, open world, shared world, You can literally see other players in the world, world bosses, dungeons, raids. How is it not an MMO?
And, to build these abilities.
Yeah, absolutely. Another component, Adam, which you guys worked on is camera controls and adding. Talk to me a little bit about the kind of visuals that are provided through these additional camera controls for abilities and combat.
Yeah, so I mean, the word of the day has been impact and weight, right? And a lot of that is sold through what the player
No
sees.
disc option. You can't play it offline.
To be nauseating or over the top, and certainly people can adjust it in option settings. But we wanted something that would sell a lot of the weight without being too over the top and too sort of cartoonish, right? And so we implemented a few different camera effects, things like.
The point that I'm trying to make is the word multiplayer is a relic of the past. It is effectively going to disappear, I think, from our gaming vocabulary in probably the next 2 decades. The word multiplayer is no longer really going to exist. Because in the past, you would have games like ARPGs, like Diablo 2, with multiplayer aspects, which would effectively just be you can play with your friends and you can play against other people, but the game is a single-player game in essence. Nowadays, with server technology and engine technology and all the rest of it, coming as far as they've come, Diablo 4 is an MMO. It's a massive multiplayer online video game. Massive is not a number. It's not a defining feature. It just means it's many. So anything more than 4 could probably be determined as massive. You have battle royales with 100 people in one map. That is, technically speaking, more than 4 because a classic multiplayer game would be up to 4 players. So anything more than 4 would no longer be a classic multiplayer game. Therefore, it would most likely be a massive multiplayer online game. If it's online, it's multiplayer, and it's more than 4, that's probably massive multiplayer online, which means most games these days are massive multiplayer online games. Diablo 4, therefore, is an MMO and no longer an ARPG multiplayer game. It's just an MMO. So technically speaking, Blizzard have just created the game that could rival and take down World of Warcraft. Remember when Mike Morheim said that the reason they wanted to make another MMO was because they knew that World of Warcraft would not exist forever, and that the only way to ensure that another game does not take World of Warcraft's place is to make their own game that takes World of Warcraft's place. That could be Diablo 4.
Camera shake, radio blur, and a few other things involved. And
Aureus,
really
but the reason Elden Ring would not be an MMO is even though a lot of people are playing it and you are logging into a server, unless you share your world with someone else or someone visits your world, it is a single world. It's your world. And you can have it closed. You don't need to have people in your world because it can be a single player experience. So that is what would make it not massive multiplayer online. So in Diablo, from everything we've seen so far, Diablo 4 does not have the option to play the game single player. You can play it alone, but you can't say, well, I don't want anyone else in my world. This is my world and my world alone. Whenever you log into Diablo 4, you will see other people running around. You will see other people playing the game in the same world as you are. That's to me, that makes it an MMO.
To maximize, our bang for the buck with those to sell the weight of these attacks, and it really adds a lot, especially.
Aureus, it's kind of logical because by your definition, any game that is online or has an online component. Adrian, how you doing, bro? Thanks for the 2 months up. Really appreciate it. 2 months in a row. Thank you. By your definition, any game that has an online component, in other words, you have to log in order to play the game, and is also played by 100 or 1,000 or 10,000 or 1,000,000 people, will therefore automatically be a multiplayer, an MMO, because even though you can't see all of those people because it is a single player game, you still have to log into a server, and there are millions of people that is logged into the server, so that makes it a massive multiplayer online game, which is not actually the truth. The whole point of massive multiplayer online is those massive multiplayers must be in the same game, or at least in the same world, and must be present. You must be able to see them. They must have impact on your game. It's not enough if they're just also playing the game, but their actions are having zero effect on your actions, for example. Saying as an MMO is no longer valid description. No, I think actually MMO is the more valid description. Multiplayer is becoming an invalid description. But we could have a disagreement there that's purely based on semantics rather than an actual disagreement. Just marketing terminology anyway. It means little today. True, player count doesn't matter if you can't interact with them. Yeah.
I've noticed a lot of how your peripheral interprets the way that they attack really sells it for me as a player. So
that looks so
that's
fucking
we've
cool,
been focusing
bro.
on, and it's made
like that
huge
ability,
improvements
that
to
fucking
the,
hammer,
feeling of
it
these
looks so
attacks.
cool.
Yeah, absolutely.
A giant hammer just slapping you.
So, looking forward, as we continue to flesh out both.
Bad Gamer, thanks for the Prime sub. Did really appreciate that. 4 months in a row. Thank you, thank you, thank you. You're far too kind, bro. So it was up when you said it, but about game design difficulty, you are absolutely right. I hate players that say just fix it. It's easy. No, it's not. It's really hard and tedious. True, but then again, just fucking fix it, forehead. How hard can it be? Just fix it, bro.
The medium melee weapons, and we'll be showcasing our ranged weapons in combat in a future stream. We're also going to be talking a little bit about and showcasing, which you guys got a little sneak peek on a few abilities, some class kits and the ability systems as a whole, and what we're able to accomplish for Alpha 2. Of course, you know, we promised at the beginning of this year that you guys would be getting some pretty exciting showcases of all the work that's being done on the project towards Alpha 2.
I'm really looking forward to this game,
you got
bro.
that with the seasons and weather systems.
I am hyped
now
for
you're
it.
starting to get a little bit of touch on the combat side, and I know that there's a lot of stuff that design has been prepping around, you know, the work that's been done on these class kits and the different archetypes that are going to be playable across Alpha 2. But there's a lot in the store, and there's a lot of functionality that the engineering team has provided our designers when it comes to both the functionality of certain types of
fucking
abilities, as
illegal
well
false
as
smoke.
the synergies possible.
Dude, don't even
between them.
fuck
You wanna
with
talk
me.
a little bit, Adam, Keenan, and Trad about
Don't even fuck with me, bro.
what's possible given our ability toolkit.
Definitely. I mean, so this whole, you know, prototype process has been kind of, you know, 2 steps. One of those steps was what, you know, Adam and Keenan were talking about a bit there with, you know, their hypotheses on, you know, what makes good feeling combat.
more of
They've done
that.
a great job on that. But the other side of that was also just, you know, coming up with these almost mock class kits. And, you know, the idea was this might not be the final class, but there will be things that we can take from it that we like and then get rid of that we don't like, and let's just make something. And you guys have kind of seen some sneak peeks of that already from the Assassin in you know, previous stream, and now you're seeing something from the Weapon Master. That was.
I can already see how you can use your blink to blink away, hammer to fuck, blink back in.
Types of combat, and what I was kind of going for here was, you know, getting class synergies in place where, you know, maybe, you know, for example, you've got to
You see that blink? Like, this is going to be fucking cool when it finally comes out, because I can see how you're standing there fighting, you do your whirlwind spinny shit, then you blink out, hammer to fuck, blink back in, and then just slap, slap, slap. So, and obviously this is just 2 abilities, because I think those are the only 2 abilities that they have ready with the new system. But I can see people having a crazy amount of fucking fun with this. It would be weird if you can't... No, you can blink during combat, Aureus, because we saw him blink earlier. Yeah, it can make for some awesome moment-to-moment gameplay, man. Yeah, the amount of shit that people will be able to do with blinking, it's going to be cool. Maybe there's like a limit to the amount of blinks that you can do in combat, Aureus. So maybe you can only do 2 at a time in combat and more out of combat. I'm curious about their design around Warlock, Mage plus Summoner and Shadowlord. We haven't seen any of that yet, or at least none of the new stuff. We've seen some of the old stuff, and that didn't look too cool, but hopefully they've also changed that.
Thing that if you kill someone with one of your other abilities, it'll reset the cooldown on one of these abilities, and there was a lot of that kind of stuff going on in this kit, whereas there wasn't so much of that interaction in the kits in the previous alpha. It was an area that we felt we could really improve. And the good thing about that whole exercise that we did is we came up with a lot of cool abilities. You're not seeing them all here, but they, what it really did for us is it developed our tools, because we realized, oh, we can't do this or we can't do that. And so like the designers and Adam and Keenan here would kind of go back and forth and say, like, designers need to be able to do this particular thing that we can't currently do, and then they would take that and they would make it possible.
Aurea, so
really,
based on their original, I don't know if this has changed, but based on their original idea, it is half action combat and half tab targeting. So I think for today's test, we're only getting to see the action combat version of this, whereas they did say that some of the abilities is action combat and then some of the abilities. So I think they say it's something like 60 to 70% of all abilities is action combat, meaning you face and you hit where you're facing. And then 30 to 40% on classes, depending on the class, is tab targeted. So those abilities will hit if you are focused on that. I don't know if they've changed that since. It's sort of their own little weird experiment to try and do both tab target as well as action combat.
Putting our best foot forward here, that way we are going into like the full class design. We're going to have a lot of stuff that we need to hit the ground running.
Absolutely.
But one thing that I would like, even if they don't have tab targeting, if you have a sort of action combat system, a nice thing to have, and I don't know if they're going to have this, but a nice thing to have is, like Aurea said there, a lock-on system. So it's not tab target, but it is locked. In other words, Witcher 3 had this, completely action combat, but you could lock onto an enemy, which means you will always face that enemy. So that enemy is the one that you're facing. So whenever you are pushing an ability, regardless of where you're facing, it will face towards that enemy and then cast the ability towards that enemy. Which is something that I feel might be a nice compromise between full tab target, full action combat, and then just sort of the fluid, more like hybrid system, I guess let's call it for now.
Oh, go ahead, Keenan.
Oh, I was just gonna sort of build on Trad's point. Like, all of these exercises, or throughout all of these exercises, we're very careful on the ability system side to make sure that when we're adding something new, we make it as modular as possible. We really want to think of these abilities as being made out of like Lego pieces, not being sort of like molded from a single block of clay. So whenever we are trying something and we build something new, that's a new piece that we can have, that we have
the
to
blur
explore and
effect
combine with
is
all of the
fucking
other
troubling,
pieces that
man.
we already made.
Absolutely. The other thing that's important, is important probably for players to understand with regards to Alpha 2, is that this is another testing ground, right? Alpha 2 is a test, and in Alpha 2, we're going to represent components of the class kits and the ability system that may not make it to launch, but it is a perfect area
How you doing,
for us
brother?
to kind of get both player feedback.
I'm doing well. As well
for us
as
to
can
log
be, you
data,
know.
Around its
Thanks
usage,
for asking.
its impact, its
How are you?
Feasibility as essentially a component of our class kits, right? We're going to be experimenting a lot with regards to that for Alpha 2. So it's very exciting.
Oh, definitely. We're just getting started.
Yes, absolutely. Well, guys,
I have no
this
idea,
has been
D-Rocker.
a fun
I
stream.
genuinely
I think,
don't know.
I really enjoy obviously talking about this stuff and showcasing the hard work that you guys are doing, everybody on the team is doing across everyone that makes combat a fun and tactile thing for us to play with. There's a lot that goes into it, but I think the team is hitting it out of the park with these showcases as we show, essentially what our quality bar is for Ashes of Creation. So I want to thank everybody for tuning in and watching. Please make sure, it's very important that you guys give feedback with regards to kind of what you saw today. It is always something that we are iterating upon, but generally based on
big shot.
What feedback we already received out of Alpha 1 and the pursuits that our engineering side as well as our design side have been examining and playing around with, we feel really confident in this approach for the basic weapon melee attacks.
Yeah, I think they're on the right
track.
track.
Want to hear your guys' feedback, what you thought of today, so make sure to comment both in the YouTube section as well as on stream, on our forums, on our Discord, Connect Everywhere. We value your feedback very much. It is an important part of creating Ashes of Creation. And remember, this is a work in progress. This is something that we are still expanding upon, something that we are still improving.
I mean, they haven't even done Alpha 2
yet. It is never
yet,
truly
so...
finished, but of course, it is getting close to Alpha 2 ready. Thank you guys again for tuning in. Adam, Keenan, Trad, thank you guys for being a part of it.
It looks
Always
good,
appreciate
considering
the
how
insight
early
and
it
the
still
talents that
is.
you guys bring to Ashes of Creation.
It looks good
as a game. We're very happy to have you guys. So
I think it
everybody in
will.
Chat, give hearts for our awesome guests today, and I will see you guys back on stream.
It does have its issues. Voice style, we've spoken about it at length at this point, but it does have its issues. And those issues could be either due to just inherent problems with how they view it and how the rest of us view it, or it could just be because it is still very early on. And remember, a lot of polish, so things like jankiness, frame rate, stuff like that, optimizations, usually happen right at the end of development. So these games will still not, this game will still not have had any real optimization done on it, because those are things that you only, there's no point in optimizing a game as you're developing it. Because as soon as you implement something new, it's going to break the optimizations. Now you have to redo the same optimizations 5 times over. Whereas it's better to just get everything into the game at the start. And once it's all working, now you can go over and say, right, let's optimize everything now to make sure that it flows and that it works. And so we'll see. We'll see. I think, like I said before, I think people are fine to be hyped with this game because I am hyped for it. There are fundamental philosophical things that I disagree with, that I don't know how that's going to play out. I'm not always a fan of action combat games, especially MMOs. I'm probably just a bit old school, but I like my tab targeting in video games. It's one of the reasons I love Final Fantasy and why I love WoW, because it doesn't try to reinvent the wheel when it comes to targeting and combat. It does what works, and tab targeting fucking works. So I'm looking forward to it, to say the least. I am looking forward to it. It's going to be fun to see how this plays out. It's going to be on Unreal Engine 5, so of course there's a lot of hype around that with its modular approach and the scale approach. I might try this, but I'm more interested in Pantheon's development. Have we heard anything new about Pantheon at this point? Like, I feel like Pantheon's been in development for so fucking long. At this point, I'm so skeptical about every new game. I'll just wait when it comes out and see how it runs. Then I'll decide, well, we will be playing it, so don't worry about that. No, I have not seen the Final Fantasy live later because I'm not there yet, and it's going to be spoilers if I watch it. So I haven't seen any of the live laters for Endwalker or Beyond Endwalker because I don't want to be spoiled. Once we get to Endwalker, I'll start watching the live laters live on stream. Right now, that's not really an option for me. All right, bad news, ladies and gentlemen. Bad news, it's time for me to go. It's been fun. I've had a ton of fun hanging out with you. It's not the longest stream. We got about 3 hours, which is better than, I guess, nothing. But yeah, my power's about to go out in like 45 minutes, but I still need to go pick up my clothes from the dry cleaners and also get something to eat, because once the power goes out, it's out. And it's out tonight until 10:30. So 4.5 hours of no electricity. Man, that's fucking harsh, bro. I was like so long without electricity. Like, what the fuck? Anyways, I really appreciate all of you. Thank you so much to everyone that subbed and, all of the bets and everything. I really appreciate you guys. Love you all. I'll see you, maybe tomorrow. We'll see. I'm not entirely sure what I'm doing tomorrow. I think I'm going to look at a house tomorrow out of town. So if I do come back early enough, I'll be live tomorrow. If not, check back whenever, because it all depends on my load shedding schedule. And yeah, load shedding is scheduled for this whole weekend. So fuck knows when we're going to get back to normal. Anyways, I will see all of you when I see you. Just check on Discord and I'll let you know. Ladies and gentlemen, as always, be kind to each other, be good to each other. Take care of yourselves. Flundermonkeys, yes, another house. I'm just looking for houses at this point to find the perfect one to buy. So I'm going every weekend. Every Saturday, I go check houses until I find the one that I want to buy. And then hopefully we'll buy that one. Anyways, love you guys. Peace.